Well, there goes the Daverhood. 10 whole seconds there. Welcome to the 791st episode of the Dave's Gone By Facebookio Podcastio Programmio of the Stream with me, Dave Lefkowitz, my wonderful, darling, and adorable and helpful wife, Joyce. Say hello, Joyce. And all of you watching live on this Saturday morning, the last Saturday in March 2021. And as you probably know, if you've received this message on Facebook, or if you're watching and it isn't your first time, you know that this is a mix of humor and talk and music and interviews and all sorts of crazy stuff that we do every Saturday from 9 until noon or thereabouts. Here on the Facebook page, we also archive all our shows at davesgoneby.com, and we try and mix it up. It is an eclectic almost as this Seder plate. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is the first Seder night of Passover. We're not actually going to be having a Seder here for various reasons, but if we were, let's see, how do I equate this program to the various items on a Seder plate? I should have Rabbi Saul do this, but let's see. First of all, there is the egg. It's this perfectly round form thing, but when you open it, it's all like gross and disgusting and gooey, just like this show. Then you have something that's kind of green and strange, which if you've never watched this program before, it's pretty green and strange. Then you have the thing that's, well, wait, if that wasn't the green and strange thing, what was that? That's the maror. Actually, this was the green and strange thing. This is the dark and spicy thing with a bite, which sometimes we try to do, and we will have a segment like that. Honey. Yes. Oh my God. Speaking of things that won't fit on a Seder plate but are appropriate, we are also, oh, dear God. Here we go. This is from another website of some sort. Happy Passover with Mr. Matzah. Notice he's got the egg eyeballs and the maror, or the carpus, probably maror there, of the nose. What does it say? It's wishing you, I can't read it. Gotta read it here. Joy and many blessings on Passover and throughout the year. Thank you, whoever posted that. That's someone Jewish, obviously. So let's see. We were going through the Seder plate and adding, and of course, charoset. Charoset is very delicious and sweet, just like my darling and adorable wife, Joyce. And finally, what is this last thing? Oh, the zroa. Ooh, the shank bone. A big bone, which is why we don't lower the camera below my hips. But you know, it's Dave's Gone By. We do this every Saturday from 9 till noon, including the ceremonial throat clearing.
Is because there's 27 gardeners whacking weeds.
Yeah, apologies. We didn't have to deal with this all winter that we've been doing the show, but now it's springtime, and all you hear outside are the leaf blowers. There they go. And they wait until 2 minutes before the show. Yeah. Joyce is also exhorting me to make sure that you realize that not only do I have this look at the this upside down look at the Passover Seder plate, but check it out. I can't really get high enough to do this. Here we go. Live, laugh, latke. Which is as much a Hanukkah thing as a Passover thing, but you make latkes on Passover too, you certainly can, which does not sit well, of course, with our potato friends. Do not like this shirt. This is not well bespoke. Yeah, I know potatoes, I know.
How'd they learn the word bespoke?
I don't know. I guess they hired a bespokesman. Anyway, I'm Dave. So, thanks for joining us, and this is not the entire show. I don't sit here and blather idiotically for 3 straight hours. Or I do, but there are different topics that we go through when doing this program. For example, we will have Greeley crimes and old times. That is where we go through the newspaper in beautiful Greeley, Colorado, in northern Colorado. And this paper, a legitimate, actual, real paper, has 2 columns that they do every single week. And they're both fun. They're intentionally fun. One of them, though, comes from actual phone calls that come into the Greeley Police Department dispatch with people saying, oh my God, send the police, there's something weird happening. And there is generally something weird happening. This is public record. They put it in the newspaper, and we share them with you in Greeley Crimes and Old Times, where we mix that segment up with items that were in the actual Northern Colorado newspaper 100 years ago. Our friend Mike Peters looks for the goofiest, most nostalgic items.
If you don't turn the camera, it looks like it's the name of this episode is Meshugganah.
It is Meshugganah.
Meshugganah.
Oh, Meshugganah. Oh, it's Meshugganah. And we're having a crazy thing, but just online. It's Meshugganah. So, what was I saying? Greeley and Old Times. The 100 years ago in the newspaper, what happened? What cute little items were in the paper 100 years ago? And we share them, we mix them both into Greeley Crimes and Old Times. Also, it was funny, for a couple of weeks there, we weren't doing our Inside Broadway segment because I've been a theater critic, a playwright, an actor, occasional director. I'm a theater teacher now, and so all that stuff. I love theater. I love Broadway. There hasn't been that much, obviously, to talk about in terms of New York theater. So I wasn't really, and every time I did, it was basically all obituaries, since there was no Broadway shows to mention. It was just basically saying, oh, this person who was on Broadway in 1973 died. And it kind of became a bummer. Well, we do have some of that this week in Inside Broadway, but we saw a lot of Broadway stuff this week. A lot of stuff happened. So we'll share it with you on Inside Broadway this Saturday on Dave's Gone By. We also, of course, will have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. For living in beautiful Colorado, I have been making once a week a ridiculous, vulgar, crude, terrible poem, 5-line short poem in limerick form of every single place in Colorado I could find. And since they're so ridiculous and so awful, we call them Colorado Limericks of the Damned. This week, we go to Maybell, Colorado. That is an actual place. I know sometimes, most of the time, people tune in, they hear our Colorado Limericks, like, wait, that's not Denver. That's not Vail. Where are these? But they're on there. Look on a map. These are places in Colorado. And now they are, even if they're not on the map, they are memorialized and legitimized, if you will, by my poems each week, the Colorado Limericks of the Damned. Also, on this episode of Dave's Gone By, we will have, and I apologize beforehand for this, and yes, I know I'm going to lose people immediately mentioning this, but my sick mind is back. I tried to resist doing this. I tried to not, but I couldn't help myself. You know, being from Colorado and living just about 50 minutes from Boulder, Colorado, it was a thing. You turn on the TV in New York or the you check ABC News, Yahoo News, all the websites for news, you don't really expect necessarily to see Colorado as the lead top story in the news. It doesn't happen, it happens quite infrequently. But suddenly it's like, why is Boulder the first thing in national news today? And of course you look at that and, what happened this week to a supermarket that I feel like I've been to, right? The King. Now, when living in Boulder, we use King Soopers all the time, but in Greeley, in fact, I think for a while there were 2 of them, and I used both of them. There was one closer to the house, and that was our major weekly or 2 or 3 times a week supermarket. So I know King Soopers very well, not the one in Boulder all that well. But I feel like when we were coming back from somewhere with Fred and Wendy, we stopped there.
I stopped with Wendy when we were from Gunnison. But
yeah.
Maybe when you did your show, you stopped there.
I feel like, or when I was trying out The Miracle of Long John's, my one-man show, in the Boulder Fringe Festival about 3-4 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, and did it there in a church that had been sort of converted into a theater space. And that was where I tried it out before I brought it to New York, before the Fringe Festival, where it won an award. So I was doing the Miracle of Long John's in Boulder. And I feel like I would have gone to the supermarket there to get something.
I think we got your snacks there for your show.
Probably. Or I gave stuff away, maybe candies or whatever it was. So it's that weird feeling, right? Or weird feeling, kind of, I guess, related to people who live or work around and near the World Trade Center when that would happen. And then they come back to that place like, my God, I was here. I stood there. I was in this place. And so there is that ghost-like, could have been me feeling that you get. Because, when they blow up a place in Oklahoma, I've never been to Oklahoma. So it's horrible. It's sad. That's right. I did go to Oklahoma many years ago with Hugh Jackman in it. No, but, pardon me. This will go away eventually. Or when they have the shooting in some nightclub down south, or they have this and that. And I'm like, well, that's really sad. It's awful. It happens all the time. I'm not going to shed crocodile tears like I knew those people or like it affects me. It's just another tragedy in the world. But when it's in a place that you really have been to, and, you've been in the building, you've been around the place. And I know, a lot of our friends in Greeley and Fort Collins and Denver and Boulder are creeped out by this. It's not just, another shooting or a school shooting or some school in a smaller Colorado town. Like, what was the famous place?
Columbine?
Columbine, right. Thank you, yeah. This was like, crap, it's the King Soopers in freaking Boulder. So they're probably the biggest or one of the biggest supermarkets in Boulder, Colorado. Anyway, this is all preamble. This is all trying to prove to you, rather unsuccessfully, I believe, that I am a normal human being with some level of normal empathy and feelings as I introduce what will be our My Sick Mind segment, where I will pick the most tasteless, most horrible, most, oh my God, you can't make jokes about that thing. I make jokes about it. So yes, we will have jokes about the shooting at King Soopers this week on My Sick Mind. And yeah, send your comments and complaints to davesgoneby@aol.com. davesgoneby@aol.com. It's how we get through life, Anyway, what else am I doing? Oh, we have the Today Yesterday quiz. This is our weekly history quiz, all in fun, kind of like a wait, don't tell me sort of thing, where I'll be asking trivia questions on things that happened this week in history, or I shouldn't even say that, this day, March 27th, in history. So what happened 500 years ago on March 27th, 10 years ago, 50 years ago? It's our Today Yesterday quiz, which we will be playing with our regular and usual champion panelist, David Sheward.
David is like Jeopardy Ken.
He for this game, he really is.
He's Jeopardy Ken.
Yeah, he just has the almost photographic memory.
Encyclopedic knowledge.
And especially for historical things and things involving entertainment, he's the guy to beat. Now, the person who's going to be beating him or trying to beat him.
Look, David,
what?
Brian Gary just posted
his
album.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's been up there a couple of days. I'll talk about that.
Pop the egg.
So, playing against David Sheward will be our guest in the Daverhood. This is amazing. This is incredible. This is a man who has worked in a few different, fairly high-level restaurants. What?
Commentary from last week. Did you read the commentary?
No, not yet. Let me. No. What about her? Well, here. Let me talk about this. All right. I can't even.
Know me.
All right.
Give it to me.
Thank you for inviting. This is our last week's guest was Hershey Felder. If you watched that on the show, Hershey Felder was very kind. He was all the way from Italy, being interviewed by Rabbi Saul Solomon last week. And so Hershey Felder is this guy. He's a musician, a pianist, and he also creates musical biographies of famous composers like Chopin and Beethoven. He's working on Rachmaninoff and Gershwin and Berlin. So he's been doing like almost a dozen of these things, and quite well. So here's one of our friends from Colorado wrote in and posted. I didn't see this a couple of days ago.
She missed it live, and then we told her how to view it, listen to it, and view it afterward, and she did.
Thank you for inviting Hershey Felder to your show on Saturday. It was a treat to hear from such a multi-talented man. I've only seen one of the shows, and I really can't wait to hear more of this composer's impersonations. On another note, I don't know I guess she was watching the whole show. I don't know anything about vaccine injections, but I do believe, she was, we were talking about this last week.
No.
I was complaining, as I always do, about why can't they give this vaccine, any vaccine, in like a nice, soft, here we go. There we go. At my age, with middle age spread, there are so many soft places on my body. There's belly fat, I got tushy fat, people say I have a fat head. Why do they go up near the shoulder, where it's all, it's not like I'm a weightlifter or anything, but like it's tawny, it's tight, and you feel it. And my arm hurt for like a week after the injection.
Are you
My
on
arm.
yours or hers? Are you on yours or hers?
My arm.
You're not talking about what she wrote. You're now onto your.
Well, because this is the second part of her piece. So and I'm like, why does my arm hurt? What is it? It's not as if I'm getting a steroidal injection into my muscles, into my joints and stuff. They just need this medicine to go into my body. Why can't it be a nasal spray? Why can't it be a suppository, or for that matter? I don't know if I would appreciate that. So Naomi writes, in response to that, on another note, I don't know anything about vaccine injections, but I do believe they have to hit a certain muscle for this particular vaccine. I know when I got my vaccine, they were pretty particular as to where they were going to inject it. Because both a guy I work with and I, both of us were talking about this and saying, how come? Why do our arms hurt? Why, it's all the way up here. You feel this. This is not soft. This is not mushy like a tushy. Why does it have to be right here? I guess, and Naomi is saying, that's why. It's because it's got to be a month. Yeah, Naomi. We can mention her first name. Naomi is saying that. So Naomi, I understand your point. I don't understand the why point. Why does something have to go? Shouldn't it go into a vein, or an artery, or a bloodstream thing? Maybe they could just put like an ice cube of it on your eye and let the medicine drip in over the course of 15 minutes. Isn't it going all into the same place? Why can't you ingest it? Go figure that. I would think of that melting something into your eye before thinking of like, a teaspoon. just take it that way. That's the way my brain works, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, brain works makes the train work. But this week's guest is not Hershey Felder. This week's guest is a man who worked in, and when I say worked in, I mean was a cook and a chef in a couple of fairly high-level restaurants, even though he had no formal restaurant training, and then was doing all right, and he had a nice gig in a restaurant, and then the pandemic hit, okay? And suddenly there weren't people in the restaurant buying food, and they needed to lay off people, and they had all these problems. So what's he going to do? The man has a family. The man has kids. What's he going to do for a livelihood that allows him to still cook? Well, his idea was to create a pop-up delicatessen. And I'm talking not kosher, but a kosher-style, old-fashioned Jewish deli with pastrami, with chicken soup, with kugel, with the array of the stuff that if you're a New Yorker, you grew up with. Well, you didn't need to do this in New York, even though so many delis have closed all over the country and all over New York. There's hardly, if you want to go to the Carnegie Deli, you have to go to Penn Station, I think, to get it. So his idea was to do this not in New York or in Los Angeles where he can go to Cantor's or some of these other places. He's doing it in the South. He did this in Charlottesville, North Carolina, where he put up a pop-up deli. We're going to ask him how it went, and now he's looking for a permanent location to put up his delicatessen, which is called Meshugganah, which means crazy, because I'm sure everybody told him, what you're doing a Jewish deli down south. You realize when, after the store closes, all the locals are just going to take the tablecloths, put them over their heads, and lynch somebody. But no, he said, I'm going to do this. And he's doing it. It's Rob Clement. Rob Clement will be our guest in the Daverhood, talking about Jewish food and cooking and Southern food and Southern life and making a kosher-style deli in a place that you would not expect it. Perfect timing for Passover. Certainly perfect fodder, literally and figuratively, for Rabbi Saul Solomon, who will be interviewing Rob Clement in just a little while on this program. What a match. Rabbi Saul, Rob Clement, talking pastrami. Does it get better than that? I don't think so, my friends. I don't think so, ladies and gentlemen. So, all that to do on Dave's Gone By. The quiz, the sick jokes, the Colorado Limerick of the Damned, going inside Broadway, and Greeley Crimes and Old Times. My gosh, isn't that enough entertainment for any show, let alone this one? Hun, how was your week? How are you doing?
You popped my egg.
This, yes, but let's go back 23 years. What do you mean by that?
Explain what happened.
I will explain what happened.
It's when you use non-Eglin's best eggs. That's what happened.
So, we're making dinner, and because Joyce is a vegetarian with a pretty strict diet plan for various reasons, she has salad, and salad's great, but it's not quite. You need a little protein, you need a little something extra, and also just to keep you from getting too hungry. So she says, "Oh, can you make me an egg?" And I make in a jerry-rigged way a poached egg. We don't have one of those poachy things, so you just put an egg in a tiny bowl with a little water so it doesn't explode. You put it in the microwave, and you can never tell, because eggs are never exactly the same size, and eggs are never exactly the same. So no matter what you do, you cannot get it down to a science. It's still, you open the microwave up after 33 seconds. It might be raw, or it might be overcooked already. It's impossible to tell. But I put the egg into this dish with a little bit of water, and I think I cracked it a little too hard, so already it broke. Because here's the other messed up thing about making poached eggs this way. If it comes out absolutely beautiful and pristine, the yolk, into the dish, you have to pop it. You have to go, into with a fork or little into the yolk, so that a little air can get in there. I don't know, so it doesn't go poof in the microwave. Fine. This egg, when I cracked the eggshell open, I cracked a little too hard. It was already broken. It was already, not a pristine, beautiful egg yolk. So I'm like, all right, I don't have to pop the thing. I put it in the dish. I covered the dish, put it in the microwave, check it after about 34 seconds, open it up, and I know things are going wrong instantly, because half of the yolk is already overcooked, but the white is still albumin. It's still clear stuff and white gook. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this for another 10 seconds. I throw it in, another 10 seconds, comes out, and it's all right, right? So a little bit of the yolk is overcooked, and the rest is cooked kind of properly. But I notice in this egg, and it's not quite a perfect egg to begin with, because there's a tiny little brown spot I don't know what that is. It's fetal tissue. It's maybe that chicken ate its own feces. I don't know what that brown spot is in the egg. But there it is, sitting there. And it's like, okay, here, hon. Here, have, and then I give her the egg dish, put it on the tray, take the cover off, and it's not the most beautiful looking egg, but it's cooked. And some of it at least is properly poached. So Joyce is like, what is that thing? And she immediately, because as we all do, if your mouth is fine except for one canker sore, where does your tongue go? right? The tip of your tongue goes instantly into the canker sore.
No,
Does this hurt? This hurts.
I just touched it. I just put the fork to it.
Yeah. Well, Well, that was the thing. You didn't touch the white part. You didn't touch the cooked egg part. She was like, "What's that? What's that little imperfection? What's the blemish?
Yes.
Let me check that blemish thing to see what that brown spot is." Never seen this before in my life. I'm glad. Actually, I've never seen this before in my life. She touches the brown spot on the egg, and it's almost like lancing a festering boil, because suddenly we hear pop, like I won't say like a gunshot, but like you're literally like popping a balloon.
It was like
and so a burst of air and egg detritus goes out of the brown spot in the. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but it's just like by puncturing this little dot in the egg. So and just we like jumped back like, Jesus Christ, what the hell? And I mean, it didn't make a big mess or anything because there wasn't a whole lot of just like little microscopic egg bits. But I mean, there have been times when I was a kid, I thought trying to help my parents, I would make hard-boiled eggs. And I did. I made hard-boiled eggs. I mean, it was late at night. I turned on the oven. I put eggs in a pan, not knowing anything, not knowing how long they should cook, and not realizing that when you make hard-boiled eggs and you put eggs in a big old pot, you kind of have to put water in the pot. If you don't put water in the pot, there's going to be a problem. And suddenly, my parents run out of the bed like screaming because they're hearing bang, 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 and like eggs were just exploding and flying all over the kitchen and hitting the ceiling. And I was like, Mommy, Daddy, I made hard-boiled eggs. Yeah. So, I mean, but you expect that, or you expect if you don't pop a soft-boiled or a poached egg in the microwave, and you just leave it untouched and pristine, that's when you'll hear in the microwave, because it'll, some gases or whatever will build up in the egg and go boom, and then you spend 30 seconds making an egg and 2 minutes cleaning the damn microwave. Yeah. So, but I've never seen this where you actually have a cooked egg out of the microwave. It's been out of the microwave for like a minute, and you touch.
I've never seen that.
Never in my life. And this may shock you, but Joyce refused to eat the egg after that. She's like, I'm not eating that. I'm like, what do you mean you're not eating that? I'm not going near that. Throw that out. Because me, I'm just like, all right, so it exploded. I'll eat it. I'm a vacuum cleaner. What's his name?
You didn't eat it either.
No, well, I should have. I'm like the Jason Alexander character in Seinfeld who eats the donut that's sitting on top of the garbage can.
Oh, God.
Because it's fine. I won't eat the part around the bite, but it's nothing's touched it. It's been on the garbage maybe a minute. It's fine.
Like room service at the hotel too on the floor. You always grab stuff.
I would never wait. I'd be tempted. Joyce is saying, I never did this, that if we were passing by, if we were staying in a hotel, remember staying in hotels? If we were passing by on the way to or from our room, and there was like leftover plates and food that people leave outside the room for the help to get overnight or first thing in the morning, and if I would see like, oh my gosh, that waffle still looks pretty good, I would be honestly tempted to go and say, look, they're finished with it. And this is obviously pre-COVID. I'm not going to get like some horrible disease. It's good waffle they're not eating. I think one time I took a fully wrapped baby ketchup. That's about just for these guys. That was very thoughtful of you, Daddy. That's right. So one time I liberated a ketchup because I imagine once it's been in the room and once they... it's been out of the hotel's purview. And it's been part of somebody's, what are they called? Delivery meal. What is it in a hotel? Room service. After it's been in room service, it's been in the room. And even if they don't open the bottle, I have to imagine it's got to go in the garbage. I can't necessarily think that.
I hope so.
Yeah, maybe if they see the shrink wrap is still on it, they can reuse it. But I'm guessing
I don't think so.
if it's on the tray
Yeah, it's gone.
It's they keep the dishes, that goes in the dishwasher, but everything else just.
David, what are Jewish M&Ms?
What are Jewish mems and mems? What?
Matzah and Metamucil.
This is the Passover joke. Matzah and Metamucil, M&Ms. Thank you very much. So how did this? Oh, we were talking about leaving food. I don't know why I did. I think the egg was just so unappetizing to begin with, because it was half cooked one way and half uncooked the other way, and it exploded. Mm-hmm. If it had been any one of those things.
There's not an unusual combination.
Yeah, or any two of those things, I probably would have said, "Oh, you want to eat it? All right, fine, I'll eat it." Well, no harm eating an egg. But because all three of those elements had come into play into the making of this egg, I think we both looked at each other and said, "No, maybe we'll do some garbage on this." And you won't let me make you another egg either. You're gonna be like, "No, I'm done with eggs tonight." Yeah. Not gonna go there. Not gonna do that. So there you go. Anyway, oh my God, it's 9:30 in the morning Eastern Time here in the Daverhood, where we are doing the Dave's Gone By Facebookio Podcastio Programmio of the stream with me, Dave Lefkowitz, my wonderful wife Joyce. Chicken is with us. Happy Passover, Chicken. So far, he's avoided becoming part of Chicken Soup, so he's already feeling pretty lucky on this Passover. We have Potato.
I think he's working on making the egg.
He's trying to make an egg that doesn't have brown spots in it. Yeah.
Maybe he made the egg with brown spots.
Exactly.
I don't know where that funny laugh is you like. I don't think I have that.
Oh, that.
Yeah, I don't have. Wait, maybe.
Is that another? Thank you ever so much. So what else is I didn't even tell. My gosh, I didn't even tell. We'll do this and then we'll do Greeley Crimes at all times. But I didn't tell the story of what happened to me at work yesterday, even though it was the culmination of things that have been happening at work for the last 3 or 4 weeks, honestly. I work, and if you've been watching the show, you know this. My day job is in a school district and involves data. It basically, I'm a secretary for sure, and I do all that kind of crap. But on top of that, I have to deal with the program that the teachers and the administrators use to gather and log all the data. What was that?
Don't name the name.
No, of course not. No. I'm not going to break any FERPA violations or anything like that here. But I'm saying there's a program in which all the information, the kids, their addresses, their guardians.
I believe their star signs. Right?
Their star signs, their medical stuff, what classes they're taking, who's teaching those classes.
If they like hopscotch or jump rope.
Yeah, every possible thing is a repository for all the information in the school. And then, if I have to run things about that, it's there. Then I'm also responsible, and my boss is more than I am, of taking that data and getting it right so that we can then send that information to New York State, which is the really important stuff, because then they get data. Oh, how many kids are in school but homeless? How many are entitled to having free or reduced price lunch? How many kids are receiving special ed services? How many kids in your district are host? It's just all this, right? And it's got to be gathered and then properly sent to the folks at New York State so that New York State says, we're going to give your public school district this much money because you're feeding this many kids, because you're educating this many kids, because they're getting these grades, because of these many teachers who are teaching in and out of certification. It's crap.
But
okay?
You understand it, obviously. You have a good grasp of it.
Oh, I don't understand it. I can just parrot and explain it. But
I was very impressed. Your explanation, I thought, was
thank
thorough.
You. Well, yeah. I've been doing this now 7 months. I'm not the idiot I was.
But the saddest part is now you're like Lucy and Charlie Brown.
How's that?
My therapist is in.
Well, yeah. I'm not mentioning names. I will not.
I like your new job even better.
But this is kind of the fun thing. So I get on what we've been trying, because none of it. I'm a peon in all this. I'm the little guy.
To quote Dylan, you're a pawn in the game.
I'm responsible, but of course my boss is more, is ultimately responsible, and and then I don't do everything in all this. I'm reliant on the secretaries in the various school buildings to do stuff, and for our tech people to do stuff. So here's the deal. There were 2 students who were enrolled. I don't want to make this too complicated, but in our school district, it's one school district, but we have 3 different buildings that are part of this district. And there are 3 different schools all in the same school district. They're all connected, but they're all about a quarter or half a mile away from each other. And so each has its own stuff going on, even though they're all connected. Fine. So we have these 2 kids, and they're all going to one of these schools in 2nd grade. And then it's time for them, for some reason, I don't know I don't care what the reason is. When they went from 2nd grade to 3rd grade, they decided to go to a different school in the district. So they spent 2nd grade in one building, and now they want to go to 3rd grade in another building. It should be, it should be as simple as that. But then bureaucracy happens, and let's just say mistakes happen. So whoever was trying to transfer that kid from one building to another just did not 1, not 2, but about 7 things wrong for each child. So instead of going, okay, I'm in 2nd grade in this building, now when they start on September 3rd, first day of the school year in 3rd grade, they're in this building. Yeah. Transfer here, transfer there, click, click, boom. No, this somehow, whatever secretary, whatever person did this, took the kid from 2nd grade in one building, put them into another building back in 2nd grade, then moved them to the different building to 3rd grade, then back into 2nd grade, got the dates completely wrong, and literally made an incredible mess.
David, that was somebody just trying to correct it and getting more and more deep in.
Yes.
When you try to fix something and you make it worse.
Yeah. Which would be fine if this were easily correctable. Which would be fine if it was just a case of like, oh, okay, they made some mistakes. Just undo the mistakes. Just change them. But the way our system is set up, there are things that you can change very easily, and other things that you basically have to get, Kamala Harris's permission to do, wow. and then be taught by a nuclear physicist how to do them on the program. So I call, and we've been dealing with this for like a couple of weeks, because like when I go to just the basic people who help us deal with this programming, they, most of the time they can figure it out, and then they'll be like, well, no, I don't. Let me ask the people higher above me. Well, let me ask them higher above them.
It's not a good sign. When
and it takes days.
Let me ask the people above me.
Yeah.
That means you got troubles.
So finally I get
Let me just explain that to you.
This guy, a nice guy, I've been dealing with for a half a year, since I've been there, essentially. Haven't been dealing with him much. I usually deal with 1 or 2 of his coworkers. And I've never spoken to the man, because everything we did is all email. It's all messaging, email with these folks. So yesterday, he's like, yeah, we better get on the telephone with this one.
Oh, no. Okay.
I'm like, okay, fine, fantastic, whatever. I'd rather Zoom it.
That's not a good sign.
Yeah, but for some reason, he didn't want to Zoom.
He didn't want to see another screen.
Yeah, exactly.
He was out.
He was like, no, phone, telephone, let's just tell him. I'm like, fine, let's do phone. Okay. So we get on the phone. And he says, yeah, this is the most complicated, ridiculous, mistake-ridden entry of this kind I've ever seen. And they did it twice. I'm like, well, that's good to know. Can you just help me fix it? And then, and this is the beauty part, because, usually Fridays are one of my best days there. It's not crazy. I'm not bombarded with meetings.
And it's right before your holiday.
Yeah, it was right before. It was just a very... I was expecting a nice, quiet, gentle day at work, easing me into the week, spring, and holiday vacation. So we get on the phone, and he's a very cool guy. But I'm noticing that he is complaining quite a lot about his job. And not specifically about his coworkers, that he doesn't like them or anything, but basically complaining like,
He's frustrated.
Yeah, your school, the way it's all set up, there are other school districts where this could be corrected in about 3 minutes. The way your school has it, It's got to be backdated and this and that and undone, and there's 15 different steps. It took me like an hour yesterday just playing around on the safe site, on our test site, to try and figure out by accident how to solve this. I'm like, oh, that's good. That's good, but you're figuring it out, right? And can you tell me how to figure this out? And he's like, yeah, I will, but let me complain a bit more. So he starts saying just how his advice for fixing things and sending this information directly to eSchool is never listened to, and then he tells me, oh, by the way, I should mention I'm leaving on Wednesday. I'm out of here. I'm like, oh, thank you. That's great. It's just when we're working together well, and I've been knowing you, and he says, yeah, no, I gave my people notice like 3 months ago. I gave them
3 months.
Yeah, he said I wanted to give them enough time. Isn't that
hard to find another person?
Well, maybe, but he didn't want to give them like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
he said I'm going to be nice to them because he was railing so much. I mean, not in a terribly angry way, but in such a frustrated way.
He just felt so that he didn't feel validated or heard, and like sometimes somebody has a better way of doing something, and it's frustrating. I worked in a department like that, and so my boss didn't know how to code or use software like I did, so he would do this long, painful coding that took me 3 minutes.
Yep.
So I'm like, can we just do it the right way quicker?
Yeah.
So it's frustrating.
Because he doesn't work, I should mention, or clarify, he doesn't work for eSchool for this program that we're using.
Yeah.
He works for a place that helps us with eSchool. But he's saying his bosses and his coworkers can get information to eSchool to say, hey, you could make this a whole lot easier if you just do...
It's like Canvas, right? So,
Explain what Canvas is.
Canvas is a learning platform like Blackboard. There are electronic sites for virtual learning, and you can give feedback to them. I mean, you can give...
Right!
Not that they're going to change something, but if enough people comment and give feedback,
yes,
they can capture it somehow, yeah.
I mean, even as horrible as, and I hate this new Mac update, you can at least, send messages to me. Big Sur sucks. This is why.
Yes, and they'll do a fix. The Mac will do a fix. Yeah.
So he gets through complaining. He gets through saying, "Yeah, I'm going." And this is the wonderful part. He says, I like the people I work with, but they don't listen. I feel unheard. I feel really frustrated. I'm anxious. I'm constantly in meetings. I'm constantly told, do this, don't do this. Watch out for the data. Watch out for that. And I just needed to get out of this stressful job, this anxiety-ridden, frustrating job, and go back to what I was doing, which was doing systems and doing, setting up networks and things. I swear to you,
nuclear fusion.
In prisons. This man is looking forward to going back to working in a prison. And he explained this to me, and he said, the basic thing is, you get your plane, you get your locations that you have to keep going and service and make sure are working properly. But if you do that, you basically hear from your boss or see your boss once a year at the Christmas party. They leave you your own boss. If everything's going well, you know what you're doing, and you're keeping things going. Nobody bugs you, right? You're not in meetings all the time. You're just doing your job. And so this is the preamble. This is like the first 20 minutes of a phone call. I was hoping it would take 15. No offense to the guy if he's listening. I'm just saying, you know how it is at work. These are not your friends. These are people that you're calling because you want them to give you information. You want them to solve the problem you're having and not give them, not have their life story in front of you.
Like
that's what the Christmas party's for.
I'm like, please, can you just tell me what I need? Like, you guys know how to do it. I'm like, listen, it's a stupid question. We need to get it solved. I know if you tell me now, it'll solve extra problems later. Let's just run with it.
But you're also trying to be empathetic, and he's a nice guy. So of course you're trying to encourage. Now I'm telling him, don't do what I've done in one or two of the jobs that I had, where you burn your bridges, where you leave in a bad way.
You're giving job advice.
I'm giving job advice, right? And he's like, no.
Sorry day.
I get along with everybody. I gave them 3 months notice instead of 2. I mean, I'm leaving in a good way. Mm-hmm. It's just, I'm worried because when you talk to other people about a job that you're in, you're complaining about it, that sometimes gets around. That kind of, because I'm talking about it in front of thousands of people.
I'll tell you this also.
Yeah.
That if he's doing it with you, he's probably doing it with a lot of people.
Exactly.
Because you don't know him that well.
So I know the company he's talking about and the people he's talking about. So, you know.
Claro.
So, and he's still working there. He hasn't even quit yet. I didn't start bad-mouthing my big last employer until I was out of there.
Oh, no. I would say that's not true.
You're right. That is not true.
That's not true.
That's not true at all. Anyway, so here's the... And you saw how easily I got a job after that one, so...
Oh, yeah. That was simple.
So anyway, so finally we get to fixing the problem, the thing that we called about in the first place. And he's like, you know, I can walk you through it. I'm not allowed to change things for you. I could change things on the test site, but I've got to walk you through changing it. And literally there were about 10 to 15 steps of changing something that really, had it been properly set up, the framework of this thing could have been, you know, should have been 2 or 3 or 4 steps. But so he's talking me through it and he's explaining. I'm like, okay, I think I get it. It makes sense, but it's also incredibly bass-ackwards. We're doing it. We have to go from the top down, and we have to delete this top date before it'll let us change that date. And then if we change that date and we remove this, then finally we get a red X, which means we can delete this listing entirely. And then we have to you have to untransfer the kid because he was transferred improperly in the first place. You untransfer, then you have to retransfer him to the new school and have him accepting. And it's like, oh my freaking God. But we get through it. It takes about 20 minutes. We do it. He talks me through it. I get through it. And then there's another kid with the exact same problem. I'm sure they were done at the same time. And so I do it. And this time I talk him through it to prove how smart I am. I'm like, okay, I was listening and I do this. And then, wait, what do I forget? And he'll coach me. He'll say, no, you forgot to do that step. I'm like, yeah, you've got to be transferred, untransferred, accepted. And after about not quite an hour, we're like, okay, it's done. These two, and remember, this is all to just get the records of 2 students correct in this program called eSchool, and therefore correct when it goes up to New York. Because you don't find these errors in eSchool. You don't find them until you start loading it into the website for New York State, and then that spits out errors and says, hey, this can't be possible. What's wrong with these 2 kids? Okay. So I thank him profusely. I wish him well in his return to his previous work endeavors. I say, I'll miss you terribly, wah. Thanks so much. Okay. And I feel so proud. I feel so happy. I write to the, I don't think I write. I say, this is done. And when I meet with the person who's helping us from New York State next week, I'll be able to say, we did it. We did it. This error that's kept coming up week after week after week, it's gone. Because their record is now clean. It is correct. It's good data, and everything makes sense. That is not the end of the story. I would not tell that story if that were the end of the story. About an hour later, I get an email from one of the school nurses. And the school nurses take attendance, and I'm just there to...
I think she wanted to talk to you about your shot conversation.
Maybe that. She wanted to explain why a vaccine goes into a muscle. No, she was like, because they talked to all the teachers there, too. And she mentioned, there's a teacher here, and she has a kid who was on her roster, and he's not showing up on her roster. She can't grade him. He's not on her roster anymore.
He's invisible.
Yeah. And I'm like,
invisible, right?
He's an invisible child. Yeah. And
why? And this is why is the nurse calling?
I don't know why this went to the nurse.
I don't understand why the nurse is calling.
Because as I said, nurses do take attendance sometimes for the school. I think, but I don't get it. But anyway, so she tells me this teacher can't see a kid in eSchool. She can't grade him. She can't do any, mark him present or absent. He's just not there. And so she calls. I'm like, okay, can you tell me the name of this kid? When I call her back. And she says, oh, it's ... And I swear the color, just whatever color I have in this pale Jewish face, just drained from my face. And I said, all right, let me look into this. I'll call you back. And I go into the program. I go into eSchool and I look for...
You're getting a lot of thumbs up.
Really? People are enjoying this story? Good, good. I'm glad. Thank you.
Had the same experience.
I go into the website and I look.
Bureaucrats of the world unite.
All right. Oh yes, bureaucrats
Maybe
of the
as
world.
the tax people, maybe they can.
They understand. A tax coder would absolutely understand this nonsense. But let me. This is we're coming to the climax of this story, which, by the way, is not over yet. I will have more 2 weeks from now to tell you, I'm sure. So I check, and I as soon as the blood rushed from as soon as she mentioned the name on the phone, because this was one of the kids that we fixed their data for on eSchool. And, before I even looked, I knew. I went and I looked, okay, what courses is this kid taking? What class sections is he in? And I look, and in the place that I always look, and they're gone. None. Zero. And I look for the other kid that we fixed. And it was like, wait, what class is he taking in this building? I was a third grader.
Oh, no.
And it's like, none? And it occurred to me at that second that what we had done in cleaning up this kid's data and undoing a bad transfer, redoing the transfer, is we managed to somehow drop all the classes he was taking, lose all that information. I hope not losing all his grades.
Here.
Yeah.
Most vaccines should be given via the intramuscular route into the deltoid or the whatever aspect of the thigh.
Ooh.
This optimizes the immunogenicity, so the healing factor, the immune response of the vaccine, and minimizes adverse reactions in the injection site.
Minimizes adverse reactions in the injection site. My arm hurt for a week. Joyce, who bruises easily, I tell you this all the time.
But also, listen, look, I got guns.
Yeah, no, and you have nice muscles on your arms too. No, but Joyce had a black and blue mark for a week and a half in the injection site. She, as I said, she's light skin. All right, maybe it does that, but don't tell me it minimizes whatever in the injection site, because for about 2 or 3 hours after the shot, I felt nothing at all. I felt fine. I was great that night, and then all next day, I'm like, my arm! And I felt like Sweeney without his razors. Like, my arm, where is it? And days, I still felt it. And the guy in the office now, I'm like, how's your arm? We come in, we cry louder to each other. He'd be like, I know my arm hurts. And our boss is just looking at us because she's a female and she's had children. And she just looks at us like, what is wrong with you two? What's the matter with you? Men. But anywho, the continuing saga of these two students, I won't know the resolution, honestly, until I get back to my job a week from now, because I'm off, yay. But then I'm assuming there's historical ways that they can go back into this program and restore that which is the students. I'm praying.
Maybe they have to repeat since kindergarten now. They have to go back.
That's right. This is what we've done to this. He has to actually go back into the crib and restart his entire school years.
Oh my God.
I mean, we don't have preschool in our district, but he's got to do nursing, that's the fun part.
Wow.
And then he's got to go through toddlerhood.
It does disturb me that the nurse calls. I think she's got some abnormal attachment to the kid. I think you should report her.
But it's just like, I was like, oh my God. So and here's the deal, and this is the beauty of this. This is when someone made that joke about bureaucracy, this is the magnificent part. This kid, both of these kids, were absolutely fine. They were in third grade, in the right building, taking the classes they needed to take, and getting the grades, and being on the teachers' rosters, and everything was fine. We go in to fudge numbers, or to unfudge numbers, essentially, and to make things correct, and create chaos. That is bureaucracy. That is my job. And scene. It's almost 10 o'clock Eastern Time here in the Daverhood. I'm Dave Lefkowitz. We're doing the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the Stream, our 791st episode of the show. I swear to you. We're calling it Meshugganah, after the name of the delicatessen of the guest in the Daverhood that should be with us in just a couple of minutes. His name is Rob Clement. He'll be talking about making a kosher-style deli far, far away from New York and Los Angeles. He'll be telling us about that. He'll be talking to Rabbi Saul Solomon, in fact. Also, my gosh, we haven't done Grizzly Crabs in All Times, Inside Broadway, the Colorado Limerick, My Sick Mind, and the yesterday trivia quiz. We have so much to do. I'm so excited about that. But not before I remind you that this program is partially sponsored by the lovely fine folks of Hewlett Minuteman Press, the copy kings of Broadway. This is a franchise of Minuteman that is owned and operated by the Toron family since the mid-1970s. I was using them long before I started doing this program. If you start using them and you tell them Dave sent you get 10% off any job, big or small. So give them a call, 516-569-5577, area code 516-569-5577. So Rob Clement, and it's Clement with a... Oh dear, I believe it's with a C? Or is it with a K? Shame on me. Oh boy. I believe it's... I have it written everywhere with a C, but let me make sure. Rob Clement Meshugganah is with a C. And so therefore, let us look at the letter C in our Minuteman press list and see, and just as I'm saying that, he's in the waiting room. So I'll tell you right now that if you go to Hewlett Minuteman Press, they can do cake bags and boxes, calendars.
Cake bags.
What is a cake bag? Carbonless forms, catalog envelopes. I imagine if you have to transport a cake for a wedding, they can give you a cake bag. Or if you have a colostomy and you eat cake,
David, please, no.
there's a special bag that's pretty with candles on it. Let's see. They have catalog envelopes, ceramic mugs, challenge coins. Okay. Checks, Christmas and holiday cards, coasters, complaint tickets, computer stationery, computer-compatible forms, continuous envelopes and labels and letterheads, copies, of course, coupons, and courtesy cards, all Hewlett Minuteman Press in the heart of Hewlett, Long Island, 516-569-5577. They are the copy kings. Well, ladies and gentlemen, so much more to do on Dave's Gone By, but before we get to all of that, it is the holiday. It is just about Passover. You know, the first seder is tonight. What better time than to bring in our most Jewish of Jewish guests. His name is Rabbi Saul Solomon. He's the founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And one of the nice things is he's going to be with us. Let me see if I can find... I can't find the search thing on my iTunes anymore. This is like so incredibly annoying. But I'm looking for something klezmery to play while Rabbi Saul gets ready to join. Oh, this will do. Here, coming to the Daverhood, the one, the only, the Jewish Rabbi Saul Solomon, talking to restaurateur Rob Clement. Oh! Shalom, damn it, shalom. This is her old pal, Rabbi Saul Solomon. I gotta tell you, I haven't even eaten matzah yet. I'm already constipated for the holiday. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the perfect time to talk about food. We are gonna be talking about delicious Jewish kosher-style food with a man who knows how to make it and make it good. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me in the Daverhood on this Shabbos, it is March 27, 2021. We are talking with a man who knows from pastrami, from lokshen kugel, from chicken soup, from, I'm assuming, well, no, he wouldn't know from spiced ham, but there are other things he would know from. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome to the Daverhood, Rob Clement. Shalom, Rob.
Shalom, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mr. Clement? How's it going? May I call you? Wait, let me call you. What is your Jewish name? What is your Hebrew name?
Benzion.
Bang Zion. Oh, is that your lovely wife walking behind you? Who's that?
That was my wife walking by me,
Oh,
and my daughter, and the whole family's here. We're making breakfast.
shalom to the fam. So, are you making? Is it a Passover breakfast yet, or are you having normal food?
Not yet. Actually, my wife wanted pancakes this morning. Regular pancakes, not matzo meal pancakes. So she's in the kitchen doing pancakes right now.
Look at this. That's a Jewish wife. Let me tell you. Are you doing a seder tonight? Where are you doing the seder?
So we're doing a little small thing. We have two small kids. So my daughter is 3, and she'll be 3 next week, and then our son is about 18 months.
Oh gosh,
18 months, yeah, something like that. I can't keep track of the months this anymore. So we're gonna do something small. I think we have some family. We're gonna do something on Zoom and check out something with them. But the kids are usually asleep before sundown, so it's kind of hard to do a real seder.
well, if they take it from someone who has 21 and a half beautiful children, the way to do this, if they misbehave at the seder, especially when they're 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a heaping tablespoon of the horseradish. And
No, so our daughter goes to like a Jewish preschool. Our kids go to a Jewish preschool, and they did a seder last night, and or yesterday they did a seder in class, and she actually like ate the whole heaping tablespoon of horseradish they gave her. She loved it. She's
wow.
She's daughter of a chef, I suppose.
Well, you never know. This is amazing. And yet charoset she can't touch.
Who knew?
Isn't charoset the best thing ever? Don't you love charoset?
We do love charoset. It's one of my favorite things.
How do you, a chef, a cook, a gourmand or gourmet, how do you make your charoset?
So we do it the traditional, like Ashkenazi style, with apples, walnuts, honey, red wine, a little bit of salt, some cinnamon. You gotta add salt. You gotta balance everything out. Cinnamon, nutmeg, a lot of warm spices. The one we did yesterday for the meals we did, we added a little bit of cardamom to it, and then we also, we kind of mix it up and change the flavor profiles a little bit, but keep it as traditional as we can.
Can I ask you, do you have Netflix? Are you a Netflix?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So which of all the cooking shows, which do you binge on? Which are your favorite?
Just on Netflix or in general?
Okay, regular TV too, or Hulu.
So my favorite is probably Top Chef, just because I think there's a level of cooking on that show that's pretty interesting, and it's really from the chef's perspective more so than just about the food necessarily. But if we're talking just strictly food, there's a show. It's actually an old show. It's not on anymore, but it's called Mind of a Chef. So it was an old show that David Chang and Anthony Bourdain collaborated on, and it was a PBS show, and it was kind of going through the thought process of chefs as they created food and why they created food and the story behind the food. And it was very like kind of food nerd kind of food
but the thing is,
television.
the mind of Anthony Bourdain is like, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself. I mean, I don't know if I want to watch that, but no.
Well, no, I think he was an executive producer. He wasn't on that. And the thing about Anthony Bourdain, I think, he's a good indication of a lot of the issues in our industry.
Like what?
So, I mean, there's a lot of things that go on in food, in restaurants specifically, where it's through history, it hasn't been very equitable for the people doing the work every day. And it's been a lot of work for very little reward. There hasn't been a very big emphasis on mental health and physical health and any health, really, financial health for the people doing the work. So it's when he took his own life, that was a big thing for our industry, because he was like, I grew up, I'm 34. I was in high school when his books came out. And so I read those, and those were like something that I read when I started getting into food. But I'm also young enough to understand that the way that things were when he started is not a sustainable way of doing things. So it's kind of interesting. There's a push right now in our industry for people to kind of create better environments for the people who work with them. And so that's a big reason why what we're doing. So I don't know how we got into this, but
well, we're talking food. Now let us explain to the people who are watching this program, all three of them, let us get that schmutz off your lip. Okay, now what the hell? What is in your ear? Are you piercing your ears, or is that headphones?
No, these are headphones. So just in case my kids start screaming, they're playing. So my daughter's playing in the kitchen.
Oh, that won't bother us at all here. Yeah.
Here, I'll take them out. Yeah. I'll take them out. So. There we go. Oh.
Yeah, one right here. Yeah. Will you smack that thing? Okay, here we go. So here's a question. You can leave them in. I just wanted to tummel with you a little bit. But here's why we have Rob Clement on this program, on Dave's Gone By today, especially the day that we're beginning the Pesach holiday. It has to do with, you were working at, you were not working, you were would you say you were a chef or what's the word, at a restaurant?
So I was an executive chef. You're talking before Meshugganah, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So I was an executive chef. So I was running the food program. So I handled the kitchen, hired, fired, scheduled, created the menu, costed the menu, ran the day-to-day, trained my guys, everything from like every item of food that came out of the kitchen, I was responsible for, and all the people inside of that kitchen.
Now, let me ask you, and basically before we get to your next step, so is that like a 50-hour-a-week job? Is it a 90-hour-a-week job? Was it literally like dawn to dusk every day?
I'd say so. It depends on the restaurant. My specific job that I had, there's what you're asked to work, and there's what you actually end up working, and those are two different things. So if you asked former employers, they'd probably say it's like a 50-hour-a-week job, but if you ask my wife, she'd say it's probably like an 80-hour-a-week job, because so we're a 7-day-a-week restaurant. We're over 200 seats. It's a big operation, so it's very hard to get ahead in that situation. So you're always playing catch up, kind of, in terms of prepping food.
I love ketchup. Ketchup is delicious. No,
I can't stand ketchup.
Whoa!
It's one of my least favorite. It's probably top 3 least favorite foods in the world.
I am so sorry, Rob Clement, but I think you have the mental illness now. Because, forget Anthony Bourdain, no human being cannot love the beauty, the wonder, the gloriousness that is ketchup, especially if you're Jewish. So wait, if this is one of the worst 3, what are the other 2?
Lemon pepper seasoning.
Oh, I like that.
Like the stuff in the little jar, and then number 3, what's the other one? Yeah, I don't know the third one. I'd have to think about that. I'd say those are the 2 that I really just can't stand.
Is it a snobbery thing where you resent ketchup because people they take a beautiful steak and it's made just right, and then they just plop it in ketchup, and all they're tasting is ketchup? Is that your problem with it?
No, I don't care. It's your food. You eat it how you like it. I personally just don't like it. It's just too sweet. I'm not a big fan of like overtly sweet food, especially when it comes to like ketchup's usually with savory foods. Like it's added as a condiment to savory foods. It's not really my thing. I'm a mustard guy. Like I love mustard. So like.
Have you ever mixed ketchup and mustard?
Sure. Yeah. So that's the thing. I like ketchup as a component to another sauce.
Okay.
But I don't like ketchup as itself on its own. It's just I don't even if I'm eating French fries, I don't even use ketchup.
Okay, we're talking about French fries right now. What do you put on a French fry?
I don't put anything on a French fry.
You just eat them.
Oh yeah, my wife said I do like. There's like this Japanese mayonnaise called Kewpie mayo that I like. So oftentimes if we're having French fries and like we're making fries or something at the house, I'll whip up some like random special sauce with the stuff we have in the fridge.
All right, this I
That's kind of my thing. I am a sauce person. Just ketchup, I don't know. Like you will never catch me putting ketchup on a hot dog ever. Like that is sacrilegious. Like that's not happening. Not in our house. Even
Rob
if our
Clement,
daughter wants, we're not.
you hurt my soul.
I'm
But
sorry.
I continue. We move forward. And so here you are. You've got, and as an executive chef, does that mean, do you ever actually touch the plates, the things in the or are you just ordering people, cook it this way, do this? Why is this out? Come on, get that.
So again, the restaurant industry is very diverse in terms of the style of service. So
Obviously, your wife in the kitchen is very diverse too. What the hell is she doing there?
she
All I hear is bang, bang, bang. What is she making the pancakes out of? Rocks?
first, she said first pancake syndrome. She said the first pancake never works out. That's what she was.
No, that's not true either. The first pancakes are the best because they're nice and puchka and and then the next ones get denser and heavier and blacker. Oh,
But
yeah.
so with the so my job, so specifically where I was, yes, I touched plates. So I was what some of us would call a working chef. So I actually worked the line and I cooked every night as well as running the kitchen while I'm doing that. So like depending on the night, like I generally would work. So I was running a steakhouse. So I would work a saute station most of the time because that's where you develop flavor, and it's also right in the middle of the kitchen, the way it was set up. So I kind of touch more dishes that way. I touch more plates and see more food. I mean, granted, you can't. There are restaurants where the chef will touch every single item that goes out of the kitchen and taste everything that goes out of the kitchen. I've worked
Isn't
in
that molestation? I don't know, but then no.
No, what I mean is like when they're making it in a pan, you have tasting spoons, and like the chef will taste things. Like I've worked in these places where you have to have your food tasted no matter how long you've worked in a place, because at a certain point, if you're tasting a dish over and over and over and over again, you kind of palate gets fatigued, I guess. So like having more people taste it ensures that it's going to go out right.
I think that's fair. I think that's sensible.
Yeah. I mean, and it also is not, I mean, you don't want your restaurant just going on the whim of a certain cook the way they like food. Like, I don't like ketchup. You like ketchup. Like, I might like more salt than you like. And like, so you have
I don't
to
think you
have
could
a balance.
possibly like salt more than I do. I love salt. Okay.
So do I. But you can't. So the restaurant I was in specifically, we didn't really have an opportunity where I could sit in front every night and kind of just bark orders and look at food, and like that really wasn't the situation. There were times where I was able to do that when we were really well staffed and I had a great team, and it was kind of like there wasn't a place for me, because at the end of the day, like I'm gonna let our cooks cook because that's what they're there to do, and then I could manage and kind of keep an eye on some of the greener cooks, if you will, and kind of coach people up during service and help put out fires, if you will. So not actual fires. So it's like,
well, no. And are there times? I mean, if you're sautéing something,
there are fires sometimes. We had a broiler in the restaurant, and I once put some butter on top of the broiler in a pan to soften, and didn't tell the broiler cook when he came into work, and he turned the broiler on, and about 5 minutes later, he had about 10 pounds of butter melting into a hot broiler. That wasn't good. We used a lot of a lot of baking soda to put that out.
I hear you. Now, so here's the deal. So you have this job is very stressful, but big job in a fancy ass restaurant. Okay, great, fantastic. Everything's going fine. Well, by the way, where was this? Was this in
I was in Charlotte, yeah.
You were in North Carolina. You don't have like a southern accent of any kind. Where you come from?
Yeah, I'm not from here. So I'm originally from Clearwater, Tampa, Florida, that area. I was born down near Miami. My wife's from South Florida. My parents went to high school in Miami Beach, but my mom is originally from the Bronx. My dad spent most of his life in Miami, but his family's from Philadelphia. So our families are from up north. By the time I came around, we were in Florida. But as you know, Florida is like the Jewish retirement home of New York.
Yes, it is. Yes.
So,
But here's the question. Then I'm sure with all those Jews there with that kind of cooking, you stay there. But is it like the radio life where if you're starting out in radio, you go to a station in a city, you stay there 2-3 years, and then you have to get out of the state to go somewhere else was your career as a cook like that, or as a chef like that?
I mean, for me, it kind of was, but it doesn't have to be. Especially now, it was, so again, like I started cooking almost 20 years ago now. Like,
How old are you? You look like you're 25.
34. So I was 15 when I got my first cooking job. And that was actually in the Hamptons in New York. So that was a summer job. My aunt and uncle lived up there. They're very religious Jews. They got me a job after my grandmother had passed away. They got me a job up in New York, working up there with a friend of theirs who had a restaurant. So I spent 2 summers up there, and while I was in high school, and went from having never worked in a kitchen to by the beginning of, mid second summer I was there, I was running the grill every night. So, and I was 16, and we were in the Hamptons, and like,
usually by 16, 17, you got kids that just basically working the fryer at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Or running the grill like a restaurant.
And like I was cooking burgers for Puff Daddy and
But what the hell was Puff Daddy doing in an Orthodox community in
it was West Hampton Beach. Like he lived out there. He had a house out there. So like it wasn't like a Jewish restaurant. It was just a restaurant that Jewish people owned.
So Puff Daddy like for cooking?
Well, he got burgers for his family. They never came into the restaurant. They were in the limo outside, and their driver came in and got. Yeah. So
who else famous did you serve back when you were 17 years old?
That's it. I think Howard Stern came in once, and that was it. The 2 of them.
Okay.
They're the only ones I knew. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I was a kid. There were probably more people, but at the time I probably had no idea. It was.
But now you're a high school kid still, or heading towards college age. You've had 2 full summers of real experience. Mm-hmm. You went to college though, yes, or you?
So I did go to. I went to college. I didn't finish college. So I did not go to culinary school. When I graduated high school, I went to University of South Florida, which was in Tampa. I was there for a couple of years, and while I was there, I was moonlighting at some restaurants. I worked at Hooters for a little bit.
Oh, Hooters! Goddamn! Yeah. Tell me, how do you keep your eyes on the food there? Let me ask.
I stay focused on the food. That's what I was there for.
I know your wife's buzzing about. You can't really say, but
I try to be a gentleman. That's all.
As a trick, I've heard that the wings there are really, really good. They know how to do wings.
Honestly, I haven't eaten Hooters in a long time. That's the only job I ever got fired from, actually.
What the heck? Well, how did you?
I didn't do anything bad. I didn't show up for a shift. I got in a car accident. Didn't show up for a shift. So.
And you were in a car accident, and the sons of bitches fired you?
Yeah, no call, no show. So it is what it is. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I didn't want to work at Hooters for very long, but then after that I left. I actually dropped out of college when I was like 19. So after my 3rd semester, I dropped out and started dealing poker, of all things.
Wait, what? I never read this part about your. What?
Yeah, no, a lot of people don't know my whole bio. My bio's all over the place. I dealt poker for a little while in Tampa at a horse track, and did that for a few years.
Years.
And then during the summer, so we weren't open during the summer because the horses is Tampa, so it's too hot. The horses can't run during the summer. So during the summers I worked at a summer camp here in North Carolina. So the camp I went to as a kid, it's actually where I met my wife. So we both worked there.
And the first night you met her, did you poker? No, I'm sorry. That's a little joke there, a little comedy. But did you start working as a cook in the camp?
No, I was a counselor. So I was a camp counselor.
All right.
But so I was at that point, I had moved up to Tallahassee And I was working just working in like random college town kitchens. I was a hibachi cook for a little while. I worked in like seafood house for a bit, some sandwich shops all over the place. Just college jobs. But then my wife actually was in Boston in school, and we were doing this long distance relationship thing. And she said, I don't want to do this long distance thing. And I had said, I don't want to do this school thing anymore. I don't like school. So she said, we'll move up here. So I picked up me and my dog. We moved up. We lived in her tiny little 1-bedroom. Well, it was a 3-bedroom apartment with 2 roommates. We lived in this little bedroom in Boston. And there, like, my thought process was, well, I know how to cook, so maybe I can get a cooking job, and that's what I'll do. I don't know anybody in Boston except for my wife, my now wife. So I ended up going all over the city looking for jobs. I staged, so that's like doing a free shift with a restaurant so it's a feeling out process for you. It's a feeling out process for them. So I went to Number 9 Park, which is a Barbara Lynch restaurant. So she's like one of the most well-known chefs in Boston. She's like a pretty impressive restaurateur. So I did a stage with her, and it was the first time I was exposed to like true fine dining.
No offense, but I'm amazed you got, with no culinary school thing and just working for like up in Hamptons and in college jobs. How did you get that gig?
So that wasn't a job. That was a kind of an interview.
Well, one night stash, you said.
It was a one night to see what I could do. I came in there, and they told me afterwards, they're like, look, you seem like you want to do this, but you clearly are not ready to work in this kitchen. Like, go get a job. And like, go get a job, come back in a year when you've learned a little bit more, when you've got a little bit more experience. I mean, this is a really high level kitchen.
Yeah.
And like, I tasted the food. I still have notes because they gave me like menu notes, and I still have the notes from that night. And like, it was food that today I could do, but like 15 years ago, there's no way I was ready to do that job. So there wasn't a job for me then. I ended up finding this place right down the street from us called Harvard Gardens. So I worked there as a line cook. I was there for about a year or so. Worked my way up from a cook. There was 2 sous chefs and a chef when I was there. So sous chef's like the number 2. So like when the chef's not there, sous chef's.
I had a number 2 this morning. It was good.
Good for you. It's good to be. You must have had some simmus last night.
Please. Before the matzah kicks in, I'm getting.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta have the simmus. It balances you out.
So you're still in Boston now.
I was a sous chef there. My wife was my girlfriend at the time. We weren't seeing each other ever because like I was working constantly. And then afterwards I'd hang out with my friends from work. And so she was in school. We didn't see each other very often. So I decided to leave the kitchen around the same time. About a little while later, my wife had got laid off from her job after graduating. So we had no jobs, and we had a 1-bedroom apartment with 2 dogs, $1,800 rent. So we decided to move to Charlotte, where my dad lived. And I actually did not find a restaurant I wanted to work in, and ended up working for Publix, which is a grocery store down in the Southeast. I was working, I started doing cooking demos in a grocery store I was working there. I was actually, it was their first store in North Carolina. I was doing these cooking demos. And it's like this thing called Apron Simple Meals. I was doing that, and I stayed with Publix for about 3.5 years. We got married during that time. And, my wife kind of noticed that I wasn't really happy, even though my career at Publix was going pretty well. Like at that point I was running the seafood department. And,
I should run a seafood department because I seafood, I eat it. That's
yeah. I wasn't very happy. She had said, like, why don't you try going back to food? And so I got a job working at a restaurant here in Charlotte. I left my job. Well, I was doing both. I was doing Publix in the morning and then the restaurant at night. It was this place called Heritage, which they've since moved on to open 2 more restaurants. and left Heritage. But this was a fine dining restaurant. So it was like a 36 seat restaurant, very intricate plating, very locally sourced ingredients. It's really the first time I've been exposed to that, and kind of fell in love with that idea, and was there for about 8 months before I went to my brother called me and said he was gonna open a restaurant in New Orleans, and that him and his wife and their business partner, they wanted me to come be the chef. So we left. Well, I left. I went to New Orleans, opened a restaurant. That restaurant closed. Before it had closed, I had left that job. My wife was down there.
So you literally left your brother in the lurch? What kind of family person are you?
Yeah, it was a rough time for all of us, I think.
So much shit. Living in sin with your girlfriend, right? You're making non-kosher, but you're putting butter in pans that have steak on them. You're working in Hooters. Well, the Hooters part is good. That's just good luck. But oh my God, I'm full of shame.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. We were, we had a bagel on the menu in New Orleans, though. We named it after that uncle that got me the job in New York. We called it the Uncle Itchy. So
Uncle,
we had a bagel.
His name was what?
Isidore, but everyone called him Itchy.
Golden Itchy.
Yeah, he was from Brooklyn.
Yeah. There's stories on that from the host of this program, who actually also had an Itchy in the family. This is not.
Yeah.
His name was probably Yitzchak or Isidore, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have to. I want to move up the story a little bit. So
anyways, we're in New Orleans. I was there. The restaurant we opened didn't work out. I worked at this place called Coquette, another really super fine dining restaurant. My wife was pregnant at the time with our daughter. We decided we didn't want to live in New Orleans with our kids. We moved back to Charlotte, and I started working for the company that I was the chef of that restaurant previously. I worked at another concept, moved over to that restaurant as the chef.
Wait, so, you're 35 years old. You said it feels like you're
34.
73. You're 34. I mean, from all these jobs, it almost sounds like you should be like 77 years old at this point.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
My resume is a mess. My resume is a mess, but honestly, it's like every place I've been, I took something from it, and I was always trying to figure out what it is I really wanted to do, and I mean that's where we are today. So.
Well, now we finally get to, it's been a half hour. I want to get to the Jewishness. Here we go. So you're in this play. You're in the concept, not Heritage, one of the concept restaurants. Everything's okay. Are you a sous chef? Are you a line chef, an executive? Which are you there? And you're where? I
was the executive chef.
Right. Yeah. In this other restaurant, which you're not naming. It's all right. So, and this is going back a year and a half now, right? So,
yeah, I started there in May of 2019.
19, all right. So you're there. I would have to say
I was there exactly a year. My last day was a year anniversary from my first day.
And they had to let you go because what?
No, they didn't let me go. I chose to leave. So with all the stuff going on in the pandemic, we were about to. So I was there we were doing we were doing takeout only. When time came, we were going to open up for indoor dining. I just didn't feel comfortable from a medical standpoint for me, my family. Like, I just didn't think it was the best idea for us. There's a lot of other reasons.
I didn't realize that.
I was for a short time, but I was brought back. Mommy went upstairs. She'll be right back. Come here. Yeah, she went to get him.
Not on camera. We have pedophiles watching, so they would enjoy this. I'm kidding. No, shit, I don't see any.
She doesn't want to be on the camera. Anyway, so I left in May, due to a myriad of reasons. But I decided to leave. It just wasn't for me anymore. You can read a little bit on my Instagram or our restaurant's Instagram. Get some insight as to part of the reason I left. It had something to do with Passover. Actually, oddly enough. So.
What were you working for Egyptians?
No. It just, there was something missing in my career, and I didn't figure out what it was. And I had been, when I was home, we were cooking a lot of Jewish food. We were making challah on Friday nights. Like, we were doing this at home with our kids, and I was making pickles also. So I was putting these Instagram videos on up on my personal page where I was making half sour and full sour pickles with my kid, and I was having my kid taste them, and it was like, I don't know, I was just connecting to the food.
Pardon me. We have to show.
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing.
Please behold. We have an electronic
Hello.
pickle, which is a very beautiful thing. It's not edible, apparently, which I learned a little too late, which is why it has a tooth mark in it. But it's a very beautiful thing. We're going to play for a moment the yodeling pickle. Huh? Okay, so we continue now with Rob Clement. He is, and now we get to the why he's on the show very specifically. Not that he hasn't had a tremendously interesting story to tell, but shut up. All right. So you figure I need a job. Not me, I need it. You need a job. I need a job, and I want to incorporate the Jewish cooking, my heritage cooking, into what I'm doing in my work life. This is what I want to serve. So, what popped into your head? Notice the play on words.
It is. So a friend of mine told me about a brewery that was local brewery that was looking for people to do pop-ups. So like just like a one day event of serving food. They were having struggles because of obvious like restrictions on capacity and things like that. So I asked them, can I do Jewish food? And they didn't really know what Jewish food was at the time. Like they didn't know what I meant. And so I said like a deli, like pastrami and pickles and matzo ball soup. They said, yeah, go for it. We don't care what you do whatever you want. So we did it. I bought a brisket.
What is it?
I bought one brisket and I did it at my house. I smoked the pastrami. I cooked at my house. I brought it to the place and we sold the food and we sold out. And we had like 16 sandwiches at that first one. That was September 6th. I think it was like 16. Yeah, probably. Yummy. Yeah, that's right. So we had 16 sandwiches and we sold out. And then every time it was my wife and I doing the food, and we towed around our toddlers in the stroller and bring them to the brewery, and
because
hide them in the back.
A brewery.
We'd hide them in the back so no one breathed on them, and we just sold food, and we kept doing it and trying new things. We did a knish pop up. We did. I was doing chopped liver. I was doing all these just traditional Jewish things, and it got to a point where people started reaching out asking for us to do like the Jewish Student Union at one of the universities wanted us to do something. The Hillel at another university wanted us to do something. The people who had followed like kind of my trajectory as a chef in town kind of caught wind of what I was doing, and like some media picked up what we were doing and some bloggers and whatnot. And it just started getting to the point where it was getting too big for what we could handle. We were doing black and white cookies was like the only dessert we were doing. And my wife is not a professional baker. She doesn't want to be a professional baker. She's very talented. Whether she is having trouble with those pancakes or not, she's amazingly talented.
That was 40 minutes ago. She's still working on the first batch?
No, they're eating now.
Oh, this is good.
But she didn't want to do it, so we brought on my business partner. So she's a pastry chef, Hannah, and at that point, like we were kind of busy, but it was kind of the perfect timing. We say b'sheret. It was very like kind of meant to be. So she was a pastry chef working at all these fine dining places as well, and was never really embracing her heritage either in terms of food. But she posted something on Instagram. So she was doing these pop-ups as well at the same brewery. She did hers the same week that I did my first one, was when she did her first one. And we started following each other on Instagram, and I saw she posted something about her bubby and making babka. And so I just reached out to her. She told me the other day we were telling her boyfriend about how it happened. And she said, you just reached out on Instagram and said, are you a Jew? And that's all I said. Like, just randomly, like, message her, are you a Jew?
Maybe Bob's boyfriend. All right.
And she said, yeah, I am. She's like, why? I said, do you want to do a pop-up together? And she said, I'd love to. Like, I've been following what you're doing. Like, I'd love to cook some Jewish stuff.
Yeah.
So she made rugula and babka and some other stuff, but she made some macaroons, and like she baked this stuff, and we were doing sandwiches. I was doing like a vegan Reuben and pastrami sandwich, and like
wait.
hot dog.
What do you make like vegan Reuben out of?
Celery root. So we turned celery root into meat. So it's a crazy process. We're actually going to do it again on the 17th. We're going to do it.
How close is it? If you put a blindfold,
you wouldn't know. You would. The flavor is similar, but it tastes like a Reuben together. But it's not. You can't eat a piece of the celery root and think it's pastrami. But for people who ate it, who don't eat meat, who used to eat meat, they said this was like blew their mind. They're like, how did you do this?
Salt and spices? Is that like 80%?
Yeah, I brine it and smoke it. I do all the same things you do with pastrami. I just do it with a vegetable. So
this does not go in there.
Yeah. So there you go. So since then we've formed this partnership. You want it?
We don't dip like.
Yeah, put your earbuds in there. Just like, God, I hate children. Yes.
So we come here. Okay. So we since then we've gotten to the point where we have lines out the door when we do pop-ups. It kind of just caught fire.
Now, are you looking for
what we're doing?
If I were you, I'd look for a bigger house. You're looking for a place to a brick and mortar. Obviously, when the pandemic's over, but you're still doing the pop-up?
Yeah, we're doing the pop-ups right now. We have a facility we work out of now, a commissary kitchen we work out of, and we're actively looking for a space. We're like in lease negotiations right now with some places. And but we've been doing these events, and we've really been embracing like the Jewish traditions and Jewish holidays. Like for Passover, we fed over 100 people. We did catering. We did like take-home meals, like take-home seders. Everything from, we made gefilte fish, Hannah made matzah. We did it all. Like we're not strictly kosher. Like you said at the beginning, we're kosher style, but like we're trying to be as true to form, but then also put our spin on it. So like when we do knishes, like I do like a pimento cheese knish, because pimento cheese is a big thing down here. So it's like, it's just cheese and peppers with potatoes. Like it makes sense with mashed potatoes. We put it in knish dough and we bake them off, and you'd eat it with some mustard. And then the other cool thing is all of our food is based around seasonality and the local ingredients. So I'd say we're about 80 to 90% local in terms of our ingredients. So like our pastrami is the way it is, and people love our pastrami because we get our beef from a small farm in the mountains here, where they only do a limited number of cows. Like they take care of those cows, and they do all the things in the same way and manner. Like they're not kosher, but I know their process, and I know the process to some extent of kashrut, and I understand that like the principles of the way they do things lines up a lot. And a lot of these farms that we work with, their principles line up with what's in the Torah. And like, so for me, if we can support these local businesses, and then also who operate in a certain manner, then it allows us to keep money in the community, but then also kind of create what Jewish food can be. Because like we're in a place where it doesn't really exist.
Have you mapped out? Have you looked on the map of like the closest?
Yeah. So
kosher style deli is.
So it's I could say this and be completely off base. In terms of places that are known in the food world, the only delis I know of are the closest ones. You could go to DC, you could go to Atlanta, or you could go to like Cleveland or Cincinnati, like Ohio, basically. So like there's like this triangle around Charlotte where there's like this pocket of desolate Jewish food done in the traditional manner, done from scratch.
I could be wrong, and there could be some amazing place that in some tiny town in some city, and I'm sure there is, and I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to go eat there. But to my knowledge, I was craving this food during the pandemic. That's why we started making it. Like, and it turns out there's a lot of people who were. So,
I mean, of course, if they're living in that area, there's literally, forget the pandemic, they have to go 200 miles to a nearest actual deli. Have you ever been to New York? Have you eaten either or LA, the Cantor's or Carnegie or Katz's?
So I've never spent time in extensive time in LA, but New York, yes. I've been to Katz's, I've been to Carnegie, I've been to all the big boys in terms of Second Avenue Deli. I love Second Avenue Deli. It depends what you're looking for, right? So if you want a bagel,
bagel, you get Dunkin' Donuts, a bagel.
Well, no, come on, you didn't bagel at Dunkin' Donuts. You can get a bagel at Dunkin' Donuts, but it's not. I mean, that's not a bagel. Yeah. I mean, if you go to New York, like Pick a Bagel is really great. Those are good. But then like this place, Sadel's in New York, like does this really like beautiful interpretation of Jewish food where they're doing like really nice smoked fish, and it's this beautiful restaurant. Like that's a great place. It's I think it's in the Upper East Side, right? Or no, I'm not sure exactly the neighborhood. I'm not like a New Yorker. Second Avenue Deli is awesome. I mean, that's a kosher deli where they're doing meat and, but their pastrami sandwich is money. But then Katz's is great. The one thing, what's crazy, I went to Katz's. Last time we were there, we're actually thinking about going up there this summer. But the last time we were there, we went and they don't sell tongue anymore. And which was crazy. So that's something we're doing also, is like I started making pickled beef tongue, and some people like haven't had it in years that live down here. And so like people were like amazed that but again, like I get the beef from this farm. They were having trouble moving tongues. So I was like, well, I can sell tongues. Like, so it's like a thing. We're trying to make these food traditions that are not very like prominent. Make a lot of sense in terms of like sustainability. So like we make our matzo ball soup. I use chicken feet. Like I use a ton of chicken feet to make our soup. And people are like, why is this soup so good? It's because I use chicken feet. Because that's the way that like in the shtetl, they were using chicken feet. They were using the whole chicken. They weren't throwing out feet. Like they used the whole thing. They weren't just.
I love a good beak soup. If I could just get a really good beak soup, that would be. And I got to tell you, I'm married all these years to my dear wife Miriam Libby. The only time I get tongue is on my birthday, and let me tell you, it's not in a sandwich. So, ladies,
you get it once a year.
Yeah, we're talking with Rob Clement. I've got to ask one more question before I bring you over to Dave to play the Today Yesterday history game opposite David Sheward, who plays every week. But here's a question. What is the secret? I know you make a vegetarian pastrami, a vegetarian brisket, but what is the secret to brining and making a great hot pastrami sandwich?
The quality of the ingredients. So like the beef, like that's what I was saying is our pastrami. I truly believe our pastrami. So we sell out every time we make it. Reason is because they're limited in how much they use, like how much they produce. So their process. So we use a company called Shipley Beef. It's a farm in Velas, North Carolina. They their process is not only do they take great care of their cows, but then when they butcher, they have their own processing facility. They process the cows, and then they dry age all their meat. So their meat's actually dry aged before I brine it. So I get dry aged brisket. I brine it for 2 weeks, not 4 days like a lot of people try and do. And then we do a process where we smoke it for 8 hours. And then instead of steaming it in the traditional way, we sous vide it, which is like a modern cooking technique. So by doing that, you seal in all the flavor into this bag, and then you basically just circulate it for 2 days in like a hot water bath. And what happens is all the connective tissue, all the fat breaks down, makes it super unctuous and all that. But you also keep like the bark that you would traditionally have on like a smoked barbecue brisket. So like the traditional like pastrami, when it's steamed, you lose that bark. So you have the flavor, but you lose the texture. So I think that's like the secret is trying to marry traditions of American barbecue with Jewish pastrami. Like, and that's what really we've tried to do with our pastrami. So, and then we use really great bread from a local bakery called Verdant Bread that does like artisan bread. They do sourdough. They make like their own rye. That's like a beautiful caraway rye. And then we use a local mustard too. So there's 3 ingredients. They're all very good ingredients and they all take time and they all take effort, and we're not going to cut any corners, and we're going to end up with a better sandwich. And, you know, to be honest, we keep it at a price that we could probably charge more if we were in a bigger city, but we're not going to, because we want people to be able to buy it. And we'll make money off other things. And that's kind of the way we look at it is, you know, we created this thing with this pop-up where people understand that we have a limited amount of pastrami but it's what they come for. So people literally at our last pop-up, we started selling 1 p.m. and people were lined up out the door at the brewery at 10:30 a.m. waiting. Like before, like they're waiting in line for us. Like it's crazy. I mean, we didn't expect this to happen. We definitely didn't expect it to happen so quickly, but now that it has, we're just going to stick with the way we've done things from the start, and we're not going to change.
Actually,
how we operate.
I foresee the place that it's called Pastrami and Poker. So you're coming for a beer.
Poker's done.
And then they go into a back room, and then that's where you're making money.
I'm out.
A pastrami sandwich, but
no poker for me. I don't want to do any more poker.
Well, look, I can't keep a poker face when you're talking about Jewish food. I'm just like, But alas, I can't stay. The host of this program, the producer of this program, Dave, he takes over the show again now, alas,
sure,
because he has to do more of the program. But you're staying, Rob Clement. You have to stay and play the history game, the Today, Yesterday quiz with Dave and also our friend David Sheward. So let me, first of all, thank you so much for being with us on the program on this Shabbos, and wish you so much delicious food and so much luck in what you're doing. I'm going to... But people, you don't go away. We'll play a little music and Dave will be back. Happy Pesach to all of you and Shalom. Why the hell isn't it playing? Why isn't it playing, goddammit? Oh, here it is. There we go. Okay. Well, everybody, welcome back to the show, or if you're just joining us, I'm Dave Lefkowitz. I'm the producer and host of the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio video show of the stream, and we are here with our special guest of the program, Rob Clement of the pop-up restaurant and pretty soon to be brick-and-mortar restaurant, which is called Meshugganah, out in Charlottesville, North Carolina. And by the way, it's spelled just like we have
Charlotte. Just Charlotte.
Just Charlotte. Charlottesville. I saw that word.
Charlottesville's in Virginia.
Oops. Ooh. Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte for Meshugganah with an H. Oh, I'm sorry, with an A there. Usually it's spelled with an E, just letting you know that. But you spell it Meshugganah. That usually also an E. But, well, whatever. It's your restaurant. It's your food. It sounds incredible. Actually, the one question I wanted Rabbi Saul to ask is, like we were talking, or he was talking with you about Katz's. They have that send the salami to your boy in the army, and they ship all over the world.
Yeah.
Do you have auspices to do that? Like if somebody in another state wanted one of your sandwiches, they could?
So we're working on trying to figure out shipping of some of our products. Like I was saying, the Rabbi Saul, we because of the nature of our beef being a limited quantity that we can access, because we used a small farm for our pastrami, I don't envision us selling it. We also want people to come to Charlotte. So, our goal is to have the best pastrami in the country. So if we can do that and people start making Charlotte a destination for Jewish food, I think that's a good thing for Jewish culture and food in the South. And that's really what we're all about. And the reason we spell Meshugganah that way is because that's the website domain name I can find. So
Is it Meshugganah.com?
Yeah, it's just Meshugganah.com.
Meshugganah.com.
It's funny hearing people down here try to pronounce it. It's hilarious.
I wouldn't even. They probably.
It's also funny.
Yeah.
People started to recognize me because like there's pictures of like from articles and they're like, "Are you Meshugganah?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Wow. And then they say, "Okay, let's lynch the Jew." But no, I'm kidding. Oh, by the way, we'll get by our other guest, and he's sitting there very patiently, is David Sheward, who is with us every week to play the today-yesterday game. David Sheward is
almost undefeated champion.
Almost undefeated champion, a writer and blogger, theater critic, former head of the drama desk. And so, David, how are you this week?
How are you?
Yeah, good. We're doing it. David, do you like deli food, Jewish food, that kind of stuff?
Sure.
What is your favorite Jew dish? Because David is not Jewish. He has a Jewish sounding name, but he's totally not.
My favorite Jew dish?
Yeah.
Let me think. Well, I like the latkes.
Ah.
I like those. You know what those look like? You know that commercial for the dander and the allergens? You have these little puppets in part of the clothes, like on your shoulder.
Yeah.
These little cute little monster things.
Well, there they are. Well, yeah, but these are little latkes. I was very upset about seeing that, but
commercial for detergent, you know.
So latkes are good.
Yeah, latkes, I guess, and I like simmus, and you know.
Well, I don't want to make a big simus out of this, but you guys are both here, Rob Clement and David Sheward, to play the today-yesterday game. And David, I don't know if you got her message, but in this particular case, Leslie Hovan Blake, who usually joins us, will not only not be late, but she won't be with us.
Yes, I saw.
She's not playing.
Her text.
So it's going to be a one-on-one, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a trivia game called Today, Yesterday. Here's the rules. They're pretty. Yeah. Here's the deal. We ask questions. There's 9 questions that we do. Oh, it's been so long since we've played with only 2 people. I think the rules are just a little bit different. Well, we'll figure it out on the way. I think we'll do all 10 questions instead of a tiebreaker, and then whoever wins, wins. Each trivia question is worth 2 points if you get it right. If you get it wrong, there's no penalty. However, the other person gets the chance to answer the question instead and get those 2 points. All right? And we decide who goes first with instead of rolling the die, if it's cool with you, we'll ask our guest, Rob Clement, would you prefer to go first or second?
If you're not first, you're last. So let's go first.
Whoa, okay. So
first to pick the die number.
We can.
But
let David go. Let David go first. I don't know.
Oh no! That I thought we were choosing. We picked
usually with 2 people and a brand new guest. Yeah,
fine.
It's not like if one of you gets it wrong, the die thing is almost moot.
Oh, you're right. It's
the other person gets to the whole thing. So,
all right. So go ahead.
So we have Rob going first, David Sheward going second. And that was basically, the rules are much simpler with only 2 people. Here we go. Rob, are you ready? And thank you for joining us, by the way. Or Rabbi Saul would call you Ben Zion, but we'll stick with Rob. The year was 1790. And I think you had your first job in a restaurant at that point. Considering your resume. Patented today by English inventor Harvey Kennedy is the modern shoelace. What made it modern was a tip on the end, then made of metal, that stopped fraying and made the laces easier to tie. What is the word we give to this shoelace finisher?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't have an answer for that. That's outside of my scope.
I don't use scope. I just brush my teeth. But you want to You can, since there's no penalty for guessing. I'll read the question again. It's 1790, was patented today by inventor Harvey Kennedy, the modern shoelace. What made it modern was a tip on the end. It was made of metal at the time. It made laces easier to tie, and also stop them from fraying. We have a name for this shoelace finisher. What is it called?
Shoelace tip.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah. Yeah, I got nothing here. Yes.
That's not incorrect. But it's not the word we're looking for. It is essentially a shoelace tip, but we do have a very particular word for it. David Sheward,
Yes.
you get to steal if you know the answer to this question.
Okay, what's interesting is there was an episode of the Mary Tyler Moore Show where Sue Ann Nivens came to Mary's apartment with her date, who was this really pathetic guy. And she wanted to convince Mary to fix her up with Lou Grant because she was dating these awful schlubs. And she said, tell Mary what you do for a living. Oh, I make those things at the end of shoelaces.
Wow.
And Mary says, what are those called? And the guy said, I don't know. And Sue Ann says, see how desperate I am? I'm going out with a guy who makes things that doesn't even have a name. But I believe that they are called eyelets.
Oh, that's the part that they.
Is that your final answer?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
My wife says that's what they go through.
Ah.
Oh,
oh. In a manner of speaking, I don't know. I have to consult with the judges on this,
What is it?
and Joshua as well, and Ruth. The word is not eyelet; it's an aglet.
oh, okay.
It's from the Latin word acucula and French from aiguillette for pin.
Okay.
I'm afraid I can't. I think you had a whole different word in mind, like eyeball.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, of course, obviously.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought
I'm no
the
doctor.
application thing. I cannot give you that points for that. Damn.
I'm no Dr. Sue, you know.
He's not gonna. That's an in joke, Rob.
I don't beg for points.
I'm gonna have to start watching.
But I thought it would add a little something with the Mary Tyler Moore Show reference.
No, this is one of the beautiful things about this quiz, because we ask only 10 questions, and yet it still takes like 45 minutes to get through them because they're working through the logic of how to answer these stories. Most of David's knowledge comes from miniseries, TV shows, and movies of world history. It's fantastic.
The stall.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. David, now you do get to try and get 2 points on the board because the next question goes to David Sheward.
All right.
The year was 1912.
1912, okay.
Mayor Yukio Ozaki was visiting Washington, D.C., and brought with him 3,000 sakura as a gift of friendship between the two nations. The gift is still commemorated to this day. What did he bring?
Cherry trees.
That was quick. Is that your final answer?
Yes.
I will give you all the points in the world for that. Well done, David Sheward. It was cherry blossom trees.
Oh, okay.
Washington holds an annual National Cherry Blossom Festival in early spring. What gave it away? Was it Sakura or what? You just...
Well, it was a Japanese name, and both of the mayor and of the word. And I know that they have cherry blossoms in Washington every year. And I think it was from a gift from the Japanese.
Yes, yes, and more. Yes. You've gotten all your Pacific overtures well timed. That was terrible. I should in terms of scoring, you've broken our cherry. So well done, David Sheward. It's 2-0 in the. I don't know.
Oh, Mr. Peabody.
Thank you. This next question goes to our guest Rob Clement, the owner of Meshugganah Pop-Up Deli, soon to be a deli. Here we go. Are you ready, Rob? For 2 points, the question, it's again, all these things happened on today. So it's on March 27th. On March 27th, 1941, issued today by Adolf Hitler, you've heard of him, is his 25th directive, a strafing attack on this country, which was easily conquered in April, after which the rebel army of Chetniks became as much collaborators as resistors. Name that country.
1941.
And you are allowed to ask your children for help on this question.
Yeah, this one's outside of their scope, I think. let's say, oh goodness, Chechnya.
Oh, so the country of Chechnya. Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Well, there's no pun I can make in terms of no. There's no pun. I'm afraid that is not the correct answer.
I told you I'm a college dropout.
Well, I wouldn't know it.
Many
It's not
times
like I
over.
know these off the top of my head either, Rob. So I'll read the question again. David Sheward, you get to
Okay.
steal. The year
Okay.
was 1941, issued by your friend and mine, Adolf Hitler, is his 25th directive a strafing attack on this country, which was easily conquered the next month, after which the rebel army of Chetniks became as much collaborators as resistors. Name that country.
Yugoslavia?
Are you asking or telling? Is that your final answer?
My tone is questioning, but that'll be my answer.
Well, I'll go my way. And David, you go your way. That is the correct answer. Yugoslavia is what? How did you? You've heard?
Well,
You know.
I know that Chechnya, it got broken up at one point, and I'm thinking, then I thought of Serbo-Croatia, and I'm thinking that at that time, it was part of that's part of, it was part of Yugoslavia. That Yugoslavia later got broken up, and that's where the whole Chechnyan thing happened,
Yeah.
and the whole thing with
Well,
in the 90s, the Serbs and everything. Yeah, and
I'm
Zagreb.
tempted to break up those points because if Chechnya is part of a former Yugoslavia, that's kind of a correct answer. Is it? Because now you know more about this than I do, David. Is that a reason? Was his answer kind of correct?
No.
No, it's not. Okay, so it's Yugoslavia.
No.
Totally
Chechnya
wrong.
didn't exist yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying, if you say Myanmar and the answer was Burma, I would give it. So that's kind of fair-ish. But okay, David,
Died.
you are leading 4-0.
Okay.
And my wife wants to point out, Rob, understand that a lot of times when we have guests playing this game for the first time, they get a big old goose egg. It's not an easy game, as you.
Well, I'm not going to get a goose egg. I promise. That's not gonna
Oh,
happen. A matter of
confidence. Here
I'll
we
get
go.
something.
But the thing is, David now gets the next question. So you can
Alright.
build on your lead. Here we go. The year 1943. Okay. Debuting tonight on CBS Radio and sponsored by Pabst is this comedy variety show, Blue Ribbon Town, filled with music and bad puns. The show lasted a season, and it's a multiple choice, was hosted by who? Was it A, Jack Benny, B, Groucho Marx, C, Red Skelton, D, George Burns?
Okay. 1943.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It definitely was not Jack Benny because he had a show on radio for like decades, and Pabst was not one of his sponsors. It was Lucky Strike or Jell-O, and there were a few others, but it wasn't Pabst. So it's either Red Skelton, George Burns, or who was the other one?
Or Groucho Marx.
Or Groucho Marx. Huh. Bad puns. Well, Groucho did not. Well, I don't think Groucho ever gave a bad pun. Red Skelton, and I don't think it was George Burns because he had a show with his wife, the Burns and Allen Show, and I think their sponsor was a coffee. They not Maxwell House, but a coffee, I think. So I'm going to say Red Skelton.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Well, David Sheward, I happen to know that you're very well read, but in this case, you're incorrect.
No. Okay.
Even your red shirt, that is not the correct answer. So, Rob Clement, you get to steal this question. I'll read it again. 1943 was the year, March 27th, the date. Debuting tonight on CBS Radio and sponsored by Pabst is the comedy variety show Blue Ribbon Town, filled with music and bad puns. The show lasted a season and was hosted by, multiple choice, was it A, Jack Benny, B, Groucho Marx, or D, George Burns?
I'm gonna go with George Burns.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Oh, Rob, as a restaurant chef, you of all people should know to avoid Burns. That is not the correct answer. David, you overthought it. Because, I mean, I've never heard the show. I don't
Is it
know.
Groucho?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if the puns were bad puns or good. They were just called bad puns or puns. He wasn't really writing the material.
Oh.
This was, he did it for about a season. It was Groucho Marx.
Oh.
And then went on, and a couple of years later, he obviously found You Bet Your Life and found great success in radio and television. But no, it was Groucho. So that's a no pointer to either of you as we move on to the next round of our Today, Yesterday quiz. I should remind people you're watching Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz, my wonderful wife, Joyce, our panelists on the Today, Yesterday quiz, restaurateur and deli man, Rob Clement of Meshugganah, the pop-up deli in Charlotte, North Carolina. And is it Meshugganah.com is the place I can go. And David Sheward, I didn't even get to say that you write for theaterlife.com, culturalweekly.com, and your blog at the David Desk. So you got to look for all those as well. And I'll remind people when we're done with the quiz, but we're not done yet. We got more questions for you. This question goes to Rob. And Rob, you're only down 4 points. You really are. It's pretty close still. The year 1950. Though a venue for classical music, the Cleveland Music Hall broke new ground by offering a solo concert by this Pittsburgh-born, self-taught pianist and author of the song Misty. Name him.
Golly. You don't got any food questions? Or sports?
No.
So the only two things I really know a lot about is food.
He liked to eat food. That's a hint.
Sports. He liked to eat food. He liked to eat food.
Well, that's not really a hint. That's I don't want to throw you off the
yeah. No. Goodness gracious. How embarrassing.
You can ask David, if it's okay with you. You can always ask your husband. So Rob, if you want to ask your wife,
but you can't Google.
No Googling, no Twittering, no none of that.
You said so. He played at the Cleveland. Say what was the name of the facility?
I'll read the question again, and I'll even throw in a little hint for both of you because I can also see sort of David not really. I will throw in a little extra hint on this. 1950 was the year. Though a venue for classical music, the Cleveland Music Hall broke new ground by offering a jazzy solo by this Pittsburgh-born, self-taught pianist and author of the song Misty. Name him.
Is it Fats Domino?
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, I guess so.
Actually, for your restaurant, it would be Schmaltz Domino, wouldn't it? But alas, no, that is not. It was not Antoine Fats Domino. It was not. So, David Sheward, you can try and steal this question. Can you name this person who played?
What was the didn't you say you were going to give an extra hint?
It was I threw an extra hint in there. I'll read it one more time. 1950. Though a venue for classical music, the Cleveland Music Hall broke new ground by offering a jazzy solo concert by this Pittsburgh-born, self-taught pianist and author of the song Misty. Name him.
All right, let me see. Look at me. I'm as helpless as a kitten up a tree. I don't know who wrote Misty. I'm going to have to guess. Never know. It's not George Gershwin because he was dead by then.
Could have been if they wired him up, but no.
Yeah. Weekend at Bernie's. Let me think. Misty. Who wrote Misty? Shoot. Maybe it's George Shearing, but I don't think so. Was a jazz pianist, but I think he was not quite that old. Misty. Mel Torme. I'm gonna guess Mel Torme.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Well, I'm afraid both of you guys have pianist envy. Neither was the correct answer. It was not Fats Domino, nor was it Mel Torme, who, by the way, I don't know if you guys knew, he was Jewish. Just
Okay.
Go figure. But no, the answer is the great jazz pianist Errol Garner.
Oh, okay.
Answered by the Sea and wrote that song. Okay.
I would not have known that. Okay.
All right. And I did the one thing I threw in jazzy there, which I thought would help
okay.
more clear. But anyway, okay, we still have a 4-0 game. Told you that this was, these questions can be tough, especially when they're not multiple choice. I should have done more multiples this week. But here we go. 19. Now this is interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, this goes to David.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. Right up your alley.
All right.
The year was 1955. David, winning the Best Play Tony Award tonight.
Right.
This thriller by Joseph Hayes, adapted from his novel, and soon to be adapted into a major motion picture, though with a different and older lead actor. Name that play.
The Desperate Hours.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
David, you're taking longer and longer to respond.
We're so glad you're all ours, Dave. Ours indeed it was. It was the play The Desperate Hours. And I guess you know who played, I
believe Paul Newman did it on stage, but Humphrey Bogart did the movie.
Yes. David Sheward, 2 more points. Good Lord. Would you have known that, Rob? Would you have even had any clue? No.
And it was directed by, I believe, Robert Montgomery, who was Elizabeth Montgomery's father.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, it was a bewitching movie right there.
Well, he directed the play. I don't know if he directed the movie.
We were just talking about, did you realize that Bewitched had a dachshund?
We like dachshunds.
We were just thinking about that. Joyce saw a picture of the cast and holding a dachshund.
One of the Darrens.
Yeah, one of the Darrens.
It must have been in just one episode.
I don't recall that at all. Anyway, it's a 6-point lead that David Sheward has over Rob. But Rob, don't despair, okay? Even though we just did the Desperate Hours. You still have time to do some catching up, even though you don't like catch up. So here we go.
Oh, just when the plot was, it was this bunch of gangsters holding up a nice suburban family in their house. And on the play, it was Paul Newman was the desperate killer. And in the movie, it was Humphrey Bogart.
By the way, Joyce just showed on Facebook. Did you know that today's World Theater Day? I didn't even know. So, yay!
Nice.
Now we have a theater question. Now, this next question goes to Rob.
Started in 1961.
Really? World Theater Day was started in 1961. I didn't realize it was that old. It was like, my God, it's 50 years old already. Congratulations. Happy birth Theater Day to you. Here we go. The year 1956, Rob, this question is for you. March 27th, 1956. Shirley MacLaine, Glynis Johns, and an unknown Marion Ross are the last living stars of this epic film, which tonight won the Oscar for Best Picture.
You broke up a little bit at the beginning.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I got so teary-eyed, I was crying. 1956 was the year, okay? Shirley MacLaine, Glynis Johns, and an unknown Marion Ross are the last living stars of this epic film, which tonight won the Oscar for Best Picture. Can you name it?
Shirley MacLaine, 1956. Golly. I know that if I don't get this, David's got it. So
yeah,
it's very. This is the tipping point. Well, Shirley MacLaine. And you said it was an epic.
Yeah.
Goodness, what is? Golly, I'll be honest. Like, I spend so much time in kitchens and watching sports that these things are just not in the forefront of my brain.
Of course. Yeah, we don't do sports questions on here because look at us. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, the longest movie I could think of from that time period is, I know Shirley MacLaine's not in it. That's the problem. Like, I think I say that and I could be wrong. It's not. Golly. Shirley MacLaine isn't. No, I don't think. My wife said she said the 10 Commandments, but
Yeah, she played Moses.
yeah, no, I know she said that movie. She's let's say, I know it's wrong, but
Throw it out there.
Gone with the Wind. It's not 1956 either. I know it's not. It's like, I feel like that's like 53. I could be wrong. Go ahead. Yeah, Gone with the Wind. It's wrong.
Gone with the Wind. Yeah. I'm afraid with that wind comment, you blew it. That is not the correct answer, Rob. So, David Sheward.
Yes.
Can you tell us on March 27, 1956, Oscar tonight for Best Picture, the film among the stars were Shirley MacLaine, Glynis Johns, and an unknown Marion Ross. They are the last living stars of this epic film. Can you name it?
Around the World, I Search for You. It is Around the World in 80 Days, which I believe was MacLaine's second picture.
Is that your final answer?
Glynis Johns had a little tiny cameo, and I don't know what Marion Ross.
She was nothing. She was nobody. I mean, this is long before Happy Days. Okay. By the way, you're right. It was Around the World in 80 Days. I don't know what hint I could have put in there without giving the whole game away, though. Of like,
it wouldn't have done anything for me. I promise.
All right.
Never seen it.
It was like her second. It's a very good movie. It's a fun movie. I've read
the book, but I've never seen the movie.
Yeah, she would not be cast in that role today, being a white girl. She played an Indian princess.
Oh gosh. And when we hear about that and that she played an Indian princess, all we can ask is how. Can it have this little?
Not even a Native Indian princess. She was an East Indian princess.
She was like South, like from
India.
Oh my goodness, huh? I guess they were having a Red Dot special.
Oh boy! Oh boy!
That's so racist. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The next question actually goes directly to David Sheward, who is leading in the game 8 points. Here we go.
Okay.
Let's see how you are on music. The year 1970.
Glynis Johns co-starred with in that Around the World in 80 Days, Hermione Gingold, who later played her mother in Little Night Music.
Oh! Rob, you knew that, right?
Yeah, that I did know.
Here we go. The next question goes to David Sheward. 1970 was the year.
All right.
Songs that you'll know: Stardust, Bye Bye Blackbird, Night and Day, and the title track Sentimental Journey are all songs on this album released not by Tony Bennett or Frank Sinatra, but by this rock star. Who?
Oh, wow. Well, I know Willie Nelson did, but much later. So it's not Willie Nelson. He's a country star, not a rock star. It sounds like it would be somebody like Mick Jagger or David Bowie, a rock star. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey there.
So a rock star. Let's see.
He's going to be Soup later.
I'm going to say, what do you want?
Is a child? Is there a banana?
I'm being on camera for a second because I'm answering the question. My partner needs to get something.
Oh, of course. Oh, hello, partner.
So this is my partner, Jerry.
Hey, Jerry.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi.
Whose last name is
your
Katz.
husband. He's not your partner. He's your husband.
My husband.
Hey, Jerry.
Yeah, he still hasn't gotten used to saying that.
It just feels weird to say husband. Jerry, and his last name is Katz, K-A-T-Z.
Are you related to the deli guys?
Absolutely not.
No.
Mickey Katz, maybe?
It's actually nice to see he's dressed today.
So wait a minute. Are you married to a Jew?
Yes.
Yes!
Not an observant Jew.
That's all right.
Let me see.
He wants an intelligent,
An intelligent
fairly
person.
successful partner.
Let's see.
I'll read the question again while you're thinking over it. The year was 1970. Okay. Stardust, Bye Bye Blackbird, Night and Day, and the title track, Sentimental Journey, are all songs on this album released not by Tony Bennett or Frank Sinatra, but by this rock star who?
Oh, maybe it's Elvis Presley. That hadn't occurred to me. I'll say Elvis Presley.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Well, usually hips don't lie, but in this case they do. I'm afraid, David Sheward, that is not the correct answer. So, Rob Clement, you can get on the board. If you can answer this question, musical trivia question of...
What was the name of the three songs again? You don't need to do the whole spiel.
Thanks. You're bored by my spiel. Here we go. The year was 1970. Okay. Stardust, Bye Bye Blackbird, Night and Day, the title track, Sentimental Journey, are all songs by this album released March 27th, 1970 by this rock star. Who?
Who do you think it is? Rock star in the 70s. Huh. Mick Jagger was probably around. Bye. And Paul McCartney.
Is that your final answer?
I know it's wrong, but sure, yeah.
Oh, Rob, you were literally inches away from the right answer.
Oh, was it Ringo Starr?
Ringo?
It was Ringo.
Oh.
His first album as a solo artist. It was called Sentimental Journey, and it was filled with mostly standards.
At least a half a point right there.
Oh well. Now the next question, amazingly enough, now this is a multiple choice question, Rob. So don't panic. So you have a 25% chance of getting this, even though it is a theater related question. Here we go. However, I don't think either this, you're both guessing on this one. So you have a shot. Here we go. The year was 1980. Opening tonight at the Biltmore Theater is Reggae, a Musical Revelation, a Broadway musical celebrating Jamaica.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
The show has several composers, which may be why it flopped in about 3 weeks. Speaking of songs, all of these songs were in the show except which?
Oh,
A,
one of those questions.
It's one of those questions. Here we go. A, Zion Boogie. B, Rasta Roll Call. C, Banana, Banana, Banana. Or D, Mash Ethiopia. Well, Rob, I thought you'd know this one.
How about popcorn?
Popcorn.
What were the names of the songs?
Oh, I'll read this again. I will read this again. 1980, opening at the Biltmore Theater on Broadway, Reggae, a Musical Revelation. The show has all sorts of songs by all sorts of composers. It was a flop. One of these songs is not like the others. All these songs are real and were in the show, except this. What is that, Dave? It's a bird.
It's like a jar in the shape of a bird.
Okay. Oh, for the kid. That's right. I forgot. He's holding a child up there. There you go. Oh, child. All right. So the clues are the possible answers are A, Zion Boogie, B, Rasta roll call, C, banana, 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 or D, mash Ethiopia?
So I don't believe that Mash Ethiopia has anything to do with reggae. I could be wrong on that. Like the country of Ethiopia and Jamaica, to my knowledge, and this could be very off base, but Ethiopia, there's not a lot of Ethiopians in Jamaica, to my understanding. I could be wrong again. I don't think you purposely had the word Zion in an answer for my Hebrew name. I don't think that was intentional because you just learned it. So
Catching on to the game.
Yeah.
But, there's been a lot of Basheret things happening. So I'm going to go ahead and say A, because I feel like I'm supposed to answer that one because it's my Hebrew name. Is inside of that name. So A, Zion, whatever it was. Zion.
A is Zion Boogie.
Zion Boogie. It sounds like the most obvious answer to be in it. So let's just say that's the one that's not in it. Zion Boogie. A is my final answer.
Well, Ben Zion, you can boogie down the block because you got that right. You got 2 points on the board. Yes! Yes! Nothing away from you, David Sheward, but I like when the guests, get points and get on the board. I think that's
Of course.
Yes, Zion Boogie was not a song. Banana, banana, banana was, as was Mash Ethiopia. There is no cast album. I have checked.
I'm trying to imagine how that song went.
And-
Ethiopia. We're in.
And the weirdest part, I designed this question about early in the week. And unless I'm mistaken, I didn't write this down. I think the writer of the book and one of the contributors was Melvin Van Peebles, whom you haven't heard about in years. And just this week, they're saying they're going to revive Ain't Gonna Die a Natural Death on Broadway next year. So
that should be interesting.
Yeah, he is so underrated. He is so,
There's a scene from it. They were on the Tony Awards because they were nominated for Best Tony.
Yeah. So
the original cast is on YouTube.
But I used to call up. When Michael Riedel and Ezra Peterson used to host a show on Columbia WKCR radio. And I would call up sort of in fun, but also because I really liked it. And I would force them, when they would take requests, and have them play Apple Stretching Morning by Melvin Van Peebles, which is like 7 minutes long. And it's like, oh, God, I'm not going to play it again. But sometimes they would, because it's actually great. But, I used to torture them with that. Anywho, Rob is on the board with 2 points.
Hey.
Now, Rob, you're not going to win the game last because it's 8-2. And David does get the last question, but just in fun. David Sheward,
Yes.
the last question. Here we go. The year was 1978. Debuting on BBC Two, a week after its American debut, was the mockumentary All You Need Is Cash, featuring the travails of what ersatz
What ersatz what?
pop group?
I think it's the Ruddles. They were a parody of the Beatles. I think it's the Ruddles.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Well, David Sheward, you will never get into a rut on this show. That is, of course, the correct answer, conceived by Eric Idle and featuring George Harrison actually in a cameo, and some of the other Pythons, and I think 1 or 2 of the other Beatles. It was the Ruttles, and All You Need Is Cash was the mock documentary that they did long before Christopher Getz was doing the movies that he was doing. Mm-hmm. So we have our final tally for this week's Yesterday quiz. The winner and still champion is David Sheward. Congratulations, David. You got 10 points. But, again, you should feel really, really proud, Rob, for getting on the board with 2 points. You've seen how this game goes. And considering the distractions that you have of pancakes and children, not to mention, are you marinating a brisket as we speak?
No, we cooked all our food yesterday. So
that's right. It's Passover.
Yeah, so we're good to go. I don't have to do any cooking today. I just got to go by the kitchen and pick up our food and bring it back.
What do you make? What food are you making for your seder tonight? For what?
So we did brisket. So what we'll be having is we're gonna have brisket. We're gonna have simmis. We're gonna have potato kugel. We'll have some rosette. We'll have some chopped liver.
That's good too.
We're gonna have. So my partner, pastry chef Hannah, made this amazing apple cake. It's like a haroset cake, she calls it. So it's like made with basically the ingredients of haroset in a cake, and then it's topped with.
That sounds unbelievable.
It's crazy, and it's cooked fast. So and then we'll have our matzah with some whipped schmaltz, and we'll call it a day. Keep it simple. We're doing a matzah pizza pop-up on Easter Sunday, actually. So we're doing matzah pizza and matzah brie pop.
Yes, matzah brie. I forgot about that. Yes. Oh my goodness.
My favorite.
I have never really thought about visiting Charlotte, North Carolina before, but I want to now. I really.
As they said on Saturday Night Live a few weeks ago, we're the gateway to Gastonia. And so Charlotte's a really great city, and it's you should come. And when we open the restaurant, you come down, we'll get you a sandwich. We say, when people say, "What's the name?" I say Meshugganah, they're like, "Huh?" And I say, "It's a mouthful." It's
yeah. Well, you would be, if you live in Charlotte, you would be crazy not to go to the pop-up restaurant and soon to be, in-person actual restaurant of Meshugganah. Look at them online. It's Meshugganah.com. 2 G's and 2 A's on the end, specifically so they could get that website. Meshugganah.com. Oh, what?
The best way to follow us is on Instagram or Facebook. We post all our events, tons of food photos. We do some Jewish history and culture stuff through our Instagram. So we're trying to do some education on why this food exists and why it's important to us. So please give us a follow.
Yes, absolutely. And they're on Facebook too. You can find Rob Clement and the rest of them on Facebook. Yeah. Congratulations, and let me also thank David Sheward. Let me remind everybody you can read what are one or two recent things that you've written, either theater reviews or pieces for your David-esque blog.
Well, I did do a blog on Saturday morning superhero cartoons because I've been watching too many of them during the pandemic.
Right.
And I just purchased a whole bunch of DVDs of Superman and Batman cartoons from the 70s.
Rob, yeah.
Did you ever have you ever watched it's not from the 70s, but the old X-Men cartoons?
Not too often, but I did like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friend from the 80s.
And another one, it's a newer one, but that Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, the movie,
is a very good movie. It's probably one of the better.
I've heard about it. Yeah,
See, if you would have asked about comic book movies, I would have been nailing stuff. I'm a comic book nerd, so
yeah, I was trying to find some Spider-Man questions, but I couldn't find them on the web.
Yeah, March isn't a good month for Spider-Man. A lot of spring cleaning going on.
Oh, David,
so I might be reviewing these.
Oh, that's awesome.
The David Desk, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's his blog, which you can find, as well as culturalweekly.com and theaterlife.com for reviews of virtual theater offerings that you've been.
I actually was at a live play last night.
Oh, was it the Daryl Roth one, the blindness, or which?
The Voyeur, the walking tour one, with only 8 people at a time.
And how was it? Or you can't say.
It was interesting. It's about Toulouse-Lautrec, and that you go to different locations and they do little scenes.
They've been doing that one for months. That has actually been open throughout the whole pandemic.
Yeah. Well, they invited some press to it, so I went. And I'm seeing blindness at the Daryl Roth next Sunday on Easter.
So how did you feel attending theater again?
Well, it was outdoors, so it wasn't quite the same thing as But it was kind of strange. It was very strange because we were on the street. They did these little vignettes. People were walking around. It was a very busy Saturday night in the village, and it was not quite the same thing as going into a theater and sitting down and watching a whole play.
Sure.
But
But again, things like The Ride have been preparing critics and theater people for that kind of performance stuff anyway. So it's not completely 100% new news.
Right.
But all right, okay.
And I'm planning to see an actual movie in an actual theater sometime this week.
What movie? What movie?
I want to see, well, there are a couple of choices, either Judas and the Black Messiah or The Father with Anthony Hopkins, because I saw the play, or I did see Nomadland on television streaming, but I'd like to see it in a theater.
Wow.
Who's your pick for Best Picture?
I think Nomadland is going to get Best Picture. Because of I think it's got the it's very beautifully photographed. She may be the second woman to win Best Director, Rosalind Chow. And I think I because it's kind of it's not too radical. It's kind of safe, and it's kind of but it's also very real.
Okay.
It's interesting. All the nominees for Best Picture are very intimate and, not the usual run-of-the-mill kind of films.
I hope Stephen Yen wins Best Actor.
Oh, I like that too. I don't know who's going to win Best Actor. That's a real tough one.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we will find out. And I hope you have a fine time going to the various kinds of theaters, David Sheward, kind of being now that you've had both your shots, being the testing ground for the rest of us, being like, okay, we can do this now. It's being done safely, and I've got my shots. So enjoy and feel. By the way, I didn't really realize you were married to a Jewy kind of a person. So are you doing any Passover-y? Does he have family? Or is there any?
Not this year, but we most Passovers we do celebrate seder. We are going to a friend's house tomorrow. I should amend myself. We are going to a friend's house. Very intimate gathering, only like 5, I think, people.
Cool. All right. I'm just curious. So, so please wish your husband a very happy Passover. Happy Easter to you. But I think that's next Sunday, right?
Yes, that's next Sunday.
I can't follow the non-Jewish things, but I'm glad that you're doing great, David Sheward. I'm so glad. And Rob Clement is doing great with his what's the name of the toddler thing there that's with you? It's a baby thing. Yes, your name, the baby thing. Yes,
the baby thing.
Yes, that you are holding in your hand.
This guy?
Yes.
This is Oscar.
Oscar. Named after the Odd Couple, or why? Or is it a family? Your family?
It was just we liked the name. I don't know. We picked it and it fits. He's definitely Oscar.
He's
right?
an Oscar. Happy holidays, happy Passover, Oscar. Happy Passover to your wife and her pancakes that I hope are done.
Here, I'll show you something funny. Watch this. I know Purim's gone, but watch this. Hey, Oscar. Haman. Oh, he's not doing it. My daughter yelled it from the other room. She said, boo.
Boo. I thought I was going to vomit on the screen or something. No. Well done.
He's so cute.
Here, hey, you. I can do it. You ready? Let me try. Oscar. Haman. Come on. Haman.
Oh.
All right, well, anyway. All right, on that note, thank you guys, both of you, for being so
Thanks for having us.
Oh, and Rob, congratulations with Meshugganah, the deli, Meshugganah.com, where people can go find out about it. Your Facebook, your Instagram as well. Best of luck with that. I hope to get to Charlotte sometime within a year or two and to eat repeatedly and most, that's not the word, but prodigiously at Meshugganah Restaurant. And David Sheward, I look forward to reading your stuff and seeing you next week playing the Today-Yesterday game on Dave's Live. Have a great weekend. Thank you, guys.
Congratulations on the win, David.
Thank you.
Job well done.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye, guys.
I'm staying, but they're leaving. So.
Fun playing with you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, of all things, bye-bye. I'm just going to remove
He's
David
the
Sheward.
healthiest competitor. The healthiest competitor.
How do you mean healthiest?
Because he congratulated someone else on the win.
Yeah, that was very nice.
That was the healthiest.
That's a
Nobody
very,
else
very.
has done that ever.
You know why?
Why?
Because he's a mensch. That's what a mensch does.
Because he has pancakes waiting.
Yeah, that's true. I could answer a bunch of questions if I knew pancakes were on the end of them. Good. 10 to 2. No, it's not 10 to 2 in the morning or afternoon. That was David Sheward's score, winner of our Today Yesterday quiz on this Saturday, March 27th edition of the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the stream. Gosh, we still have a bit to do on this program. We have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. We have our My Sick Mind segment. And we haven't even done any Greeley Crimes and Old Times. But since we just got through talking with David Sheward about going to the theater and the return in a very quiet beginning way of live theater, let's go to our segment that celebrates the theater. We call it Inside Broadway. As I find I can't even find, with these new Big Sur icons, I can't even find my bloody iTunes. I can't find the search bar. This just really, really sucks. Hold on. No, really. I mean, why can you ruin something that was working perfectly well?
You have to upgrade. Mac is always optional.
Yeah, I'm okay. Hold on. Let's find DGB intro. Inside Broadway. And I must have turned down the volume. Yes, I did. Let's try this again. Here we go. Inside Broadway. Inside Broadway, a look at theater on and off Broadway and beyond. Brought to you by Total Theater and Performing Arts Insider. Pardon me. Curtain going up. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, inside Broadway we go for news of the Rialto, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah, I've been a playwright, a theater critic. As a matter of fact, if you want to read both my theater reviews and a bunch of my plays, you're going to want to go to davelefkowitz.org. Dave Lefkowitz, Lefkowitz, write that down, davelefkowitz.org, and I've got literally like 800 pieces of writing just on that website. Hundreds of reviews, one-act plays, full-length plays, comedies that I'm praying some theater company or director will look at and go, I want to make these.
National Theater Day.
On National Theater Day, that's right. And, you can, well, okay, I've got a website, my plays are on it. But a few years ago, some guy, never met, all halfway across the world in India, read one of my plays, liked it, and they ended up putting it on in Chennai, India. I haven't been more thrilled in years. So yeah, if you want to do one of my plays, just contact me. I'll make it worth your while. I'll pay you to put on. No, I won't. But if you want to put on my play, I would love to see it. It's all there at davelefkowitz.org. But this is all preface to say that we do a weekly segment called Inside Broadway, devoted to the news of the Rialto, of what's happening in theater, mostly in New York. Well, yes, still May 31st was kind of the re-entry date for Broadway. It's the official date when things can start happening again on Broadway, even though everybody expects that Broadway won't even really start up with shows until September, October. But, it's already, the end of March. We're not that far away. And off-Broadway theaters, as you heard from David Sheward, they're starting to make plans. April, things are going to start popping. A lot of outdoor stuff, for sure, but also interestingly distanced and careful shows indoors, too. Now, that doesn't mean, unfortunately, and just, sometimes rather shockingly, that we're done with the pandemic and that COVID is over. As a matter of fact, our friend of the Daverhood, Bill T. Jones, the choreographer who founded a dance company with the late Arnie Zane, they were going to start distanced performances of their show Afterwardness at the Park Avenue Armory, like now, this week. And then 3 cast members, 3 tested positive for coronavirus. So they're pushing the show until later this spring. And sadly enough, but totally understandably, a bunch of regional theaters that were going to start doing shows in the summer and the fall have decided, no, we're pushing those until 2022, just because of this potential 4th wave and the variants, and also just making it safe and for people to be comfortable going to the theater en masse again. They're just pushing things further up the road. It is unavoidable and a little bit sad. Anyway, speaking of sad, got a couple of big passings to talk about on this Inside Broadway segment. Got to say farewell to actress Jessica Walter, who, 80 years old, she passed away in her sleep this week on March 24th. And this is the weirdest thing. And again, total coincidence. We had that question on the Today Yesterday quiz about Errol Garner being the pianist, being the guy playing at the Cleveland Playhouse or Cleveland Orchestra, and composing the song Misty. Well, Jessica Walter first came to prominence in the Clint Eastwood film Play Misty for Me, his first major directing assignment. She was also in The Flamingo Kid, a bunch of other movies. She was on Trapper John M.D. for a couple of years, and of course, she was an Emmy nominee for her wonderful work in Arrested Development, which is, it's the kind of character, she's so hateful she gets no love, and yet she was terrific in it. Let's talk about Jessica Walter's theater credits, her Broadway cred, which is considerable. For example, she debuted on Broadway in the 1960 drama Advice and Consent with Richard Kiley, Barnard Hughes, and a future TV star himself, Conrad Bain. And then in 1963, she starred with our friend of the Daverhood, Carol Lawrence, in the play Nightlife. In 1963, she was in a show called Photo Finish, which was written by and featured Peter Ustinov. She was in the 1964 play A Severed Head with our other actress friend of the Daverhood, Christina Pickles. And then in 1988, big jump there, like 2 decades, she went back on Broadway in the Neil Simon comedy Rumors. Her last Broadway show was the revival in 2011 of Anything Goes with Sutton Foster and Joel Grey. She was formerly, and this is kind of cool, at one time in her life, she was married to the actor Ron Liebman and starred with him in Tartuffe in a Los Angeles production. So a big theater person, a big TV person, Jessica Walter, sad farewell from the Daverhood. And speaking of movies and theater, this was the week, a day before she died, we lost George Segal at the age of 87 after complications from bypass surgery. Movies, well, he was in everything from Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. He got a Best Supporting Actor nomination for that. He was in Where's Papa, A Touch of Class, No Way to Treat a Lady, Fun with Dick and Jane, Who is Killing the Great Chefs of Europe. I mean, if you just needed a go-to for a pleasant comedy leading man with maybe a little bit of Jewishness in there, they went with George Segal. What happened was by the 1980s, he started to get typed in that role. His marriage was falling apart. He was doing some drugs and losing his way. But by the 1990s, he was back working with big directors and doing a lot of TV. He was doing Just Shoot Me, and then he was in The Goldbergs for the past couple of seasons. He would have been in this season had he not passed away this week. But let's talk about his theater credits, because this is Inside Broadway. George Segal was on Broadway in 1961 in the Patty Chayefsky play Gideon, which also starred Frederick March, which should give you some idea of the longevity of George Segal's career. He was in the play Rattle of a Simple Man, which had a short run at the Booth Theater with Tammy Grimes and Edward Woodward. Say that 3 times fast. In 1965, he played Maish in a flop revival of Requiem for a Heavyweight that starred John Lithgow. I think that's 1985. I'm not 1965, I'm sorry. It was 1985 that they did a revival of Requiem for a Heavyweight that did not get good reviews, but George Segal was in that and he played Maish. And then his last Broadway assignment was in 1998's Art where he was a cast replacement in that show. He was, I mentioned Jewish, he was one of the first Hollywood leading men to keep his obviously Jewish last name. He didn't call himself George Smith or anything. He kept George Siegel. He has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and somewhere up there he's playing banjo. So a big farewell to George Siegel, who passed away. Not all the Broadway news this week is sad and bad. We've got some positive stuff too, and we'll tell you about it after we remind you that this journal, Performing Arts Insider, continues. It is a hard copy magazine, the Bible of Broadway since 1944. If you care about theater, if you want to know about every single show in a couple of months that will be on Broadway, off, and even off Broadway, this is the journal to get. Not only that, we even have a monthly column devoted to all the shows that you can watch on the internet, all the Zoom shows and all the pre-recorded shows from years gone by that are available to you on YouTube or in other places on the web. As a matter of fact, just this week, my wife and I watched Angela Lansbury and George Hearn in Sweeney Todd. Anybody can watch that. One of the most legendary pieces of theater ever. So if you want to find stuff like that, we have a whole long list of those kinds of things in every issue of Performing Arts Insider, plus all the shows that are on the runway, that were playing on Broadway before the pandemic, that were gonna be opening, all these off-Broadway shows making plans for 2021 and 2022. How do you subscribe to Performing Arts Insider? Very simple. You go to performingartsinsider.com. performingartsinsider.com. And again, the magazine is not online, but subscription information is online. And if you want to save a little money subscribing, remember that we can email you the issue, like a PDF copy of it, and that'll save you about $50 a year if you're subscribing to PAI. But you really should. It remains the Bible of Broadway and off. Well, speaking of Broadway, we are doing our Inside Broadway segment here on this Saturday, March 27th, with a bit more theater stuff to do. For example, He's Just My Bill. Now, here's the thing. This is not sad, tragic news. We're going to wish happy congratulations to press agent Bill Evans, who is retiring after more than 4 decades covering Broadway and off-Broadway. He represented 18 shows by Neil Simon. In fact, Neil Simon was such a help to Bill Evans's career and such a friend. Check this out. In 2004, when Neil Simon needed one, Bill Evans gave him his kidney and saved Neil, and Neil Simon lived like another decade or so. Bill Evans started in 1972 on a little play, or a little musical, called A Little Night Music, and then hung up his own shingle while working closely with producer Manny Eisenberg. So Bill Evans was the press agent. He was the guy promoting Broadway shows like Children of a Lesser God, Crazy for You, Lost in Yonkers, Masterclass. Now, for the last 8 years, he kind of moved away from that side of Broadway, and he became the press representative for the Sheward organization. But now he and his husband are moving to Cleveland to be near family. Not so far from Charlotte. He can still get a good sandwich. So congratulations, and thank you. I worked with Bill Evans for years, so thank you, and best wishes to Bill Evans for this next step of his life and career. And now we get to a little bit more, more sad news. Some more obituary stuff on Inside Broadway. Paul Foster died back on March 5th. Complications from Parkinson's disease. He was 89 years old. Who was Paul Foster? He wrote 18 plus plays, all of them done at a place that he helped found called La Mama, one of the premier off-Broadway and experimental theaters. Best known for writing a play called Tom Paine, but he had many others. After coming out of the Navy, he was in the Village, he met Ellen Stewart. And she, at that point, she wanted to open a fashion boutique. And he said, you know what, if you open that store for fashion, can I use the basement to do some theater? And she's like, okay, well, we got a deal. You use it for theater, I'll do fashion. She got more interested in theater even than he did, and they kind of co-ran. I helped found La Mama, and there it is. And so we bid a farewell to 89-year-old Paul Foster, who passed away a couple of weeks ago. Also farewell to lighting designer Pat Collins, not the Pat Collins that you've seen, who is theater related, who would host those pre-Tony shows on CBS and was a reporter on TV. This is a different Pat Collins. She's a lighting designer, won the Tony in 1986 for I'm Not Rappaport. She was also Tony nominated for the Three Penny Opera, the 1977 production of that, and the Broadway play Doubt. She lit How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the play Proof, the musical Ain't Misbehavin'. She also worked in regional theaters like Steppenwolf and Hartford Stage, Old Globe, and McCarter. Farewell to Pat Collins. Now, I don't want to go on another downer and end this segment with another, oh, dead, sad, sorry. So let's have something happy. First of all, I mentioned that they're thinking of bringing Melvin Van Peebles' Ain't Supposed to Die a Natural Death to Broadway in 2022 or 2023. That'll be really interesting to see in our BIPOC culture now. But there's also going to be a very, very different kind of Shakespeare going on. This July, outdoors, Public Theater's Shakespeare in the Park returns to the Delacorte Theater, which they've been revamping and rebuilding anyway. In July through the end of August, they're going to be doing a different version of The Merry Wives of Windsor, adapted by Jocelyn Bio, directed by Sahim Ali. I think you can tell from the names that it's not going to be your parents' white English Shakespeare. It's going to take place in South Harlem and be about West African immigrants. So the Public Theater made this statement, quote, "We have spent the last year getting ready. We've been producing new work and preparing a safe return where we have grieved, zoomed, innovated, supported our communities, and connected our city," end quote. In other words, it's time, we've suffered, it's time to return to the theater, which they're doing with Merry Wives. That's the title of it. They're calling it Merry Wives rather than the full Merry Wives of Windsor. But that, my friends, is what we talk about when we go inside Broadway. Now, if I can just find my outro music, because I can't find anything on this iTunes now. Oh, for crying out loud. Hold on, I'll find it.
Just
No.
hum it.
Oh, for goodness sake. Maybe I have it under the Ain't Broadway Ground song. I hope I do. Because I'm like, there it is. Ain't Broadway Grand.
It's the famous gay white way where the night is bright as day. Ain't Broadway grand? It's not just a thoroughfare, it's a tingle in the air. Ain't Broadway grand? It's excitement, it's romance, it's all fun and song and dance. This wonderland, you can be a millionaire quicker here than anywhere. Ain't Broadway grand? You audition very well, you're in great form, you can tell. Ain't Broadway grand? As you do your lash and take, we'll call you is all they say. Ain't Broadway grand? Then it happens they pick you, and your dream is coming true, just as you planned. And that opening night is here, and the critics rave and cheer. Ain't Broadway grand?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Broadway is grand, and I'm thrilled to be able to talk Broadway with you every week here on Dave's Gone By, where it is just after noon Eastern Time here on Dave's Gone By. I'm Dave Lefkowitz, my darling and adorable wife, Joyce, helping out being part of the show. You're all part of the show. It's so important that you join us. Let's remind you, even though we're not done yet, we still have more. We have our Greeley Crimes and Old Times segment. We've got My Sick Mind. We have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. Oh, so much to do with the time we have left on this Saturday. This Saturday morning, March 27th, 2021. The 791st episode of Dave's Gone By. We're calling this one Meshugganah in honor of our guest, Rob Clement, and his deli. But if you want to hear last week's show, or the week before that, or the week before that, or the month, the year before that, all you got to do is go to our website, davesgoneby.com. DAVESGONEBY. davesgoneby.com, because we keep all our old shows there. And they're free. You can download them. You can stream them. Basically, except for a couple of technical glitches, every show that we've done since we started in 2002 is on that website, davesgoneby.com. We also have a separate archive of all the interviews we've done. So, we got that nice message from one of our viewers about how cool it was to watch the interview with Hershey Felder last week. If you missed it, just go to davesgoneby.com. Unlike my iTunes here, there's a search box that you can find. You put in Felder or Hershey Felder, it'll bring up the show, and it'll also bring up just the interview if you only want to watch that. davesgoneby.com. And we also throw our archives into archive.org, a nonprofit website of just archiving millions of things, art, and music and TV shows and radio shows and books from centuries ago, all in one repository. Archive.org, we're proud to be part of that as well. We put our audio archives up on castbox.fm for those of you who specifically prefer podcast and you don't want to sit here and watch a show for 3.5 hours. You want it in your ears wherever you are. Castbox.fm is a great way to do that. What else? You can also find most of our material on YouTube. Easy to find there. You can find the last 4 years of our archives where we've been doing this as video on Facebook just by scrolling and waiting and scrolling and waiting on our Facebook page. And if you happen to live in Nassau County and you still have cable, you still have Altice or whatever the hell they call it, you put on Public Access Channel 20 on Monday early morning, 1 a.m., or Tuesdays, 4 a.m., and you can watch 1-hour excerpts of the show. It's completely random. The best way to watch the program is really on davesgoneby.com, but if you happen to be surfing channels, and there's this on Channel 13, and QVC, and whatever the hell you're surfing through, you get to Channel 20, there's this guy, Mondays at 1, and Tuesdays at 4 a.m. So many ways to watch Dave's Gone By when you're not watching us live on Saturday mornings. Well, we have a bit more live stuff to do. Joyce, I'm still so glad you're there because in a couple of minutes we'll be doing our Greeley Crimes and Old Times. But speaking of crimes, speaking of horrible and unusual things, one of the segments that we do is called My Sick Mind. And what that is, I can't stop myself. I can't self-censor. I have to do, a man's got to do what a man's got to do. And this man's got to tell terrible jokes. Oh, there's my search box. Good Lord. Let's see if that'll work. Yeah, there it is. They moved it. They moved it into the upper left-hand corner of iTunes. Why they did this?
Honey.
Yeah. What? I'm just saying. Anyway, I found my iTunes search box, which has allowed me to find the intro and under music for this segment. We call it My Sick Mind, so I apologize in advance if you are offended by sick humor, by tasteless, or if the words too soon actually mean anything to you, and it really does to some people, I get that, then go away for a minute or two. Come on back to the show in 5 minutes. We'll be doing Greeley Crimes and Old Times. But until then, I can't stop myself. I have to do this kind of thing. It's My Sick Mind. We're going to be telling some jokes all about, yes, ladies and gentlemen, the shooting in the Boulder King Soopers. And as I said, it did freak me out a little bit. Boulder is not very far from Greeley. I drove back and forth a few times when I was doing the Boulder Fringe Festival with my one-man show, The Miracle of Long Johns. And I've been to Boulder for other reasons and other times. So I know Boulder. Past that King Soopers, I've probably been in it. So it's a little freakier than your average run-of-the-mill NRA-sponsored mass shooting. I think this morning I was passing by the TV downstairs, and I mentioned there was a shooting in Virginia Beach, I think, and then there's like 8 people dead. Can you? Yeah, see if I mean, literally, we're going to forget about Boulder 10 seconds, and Republicans are always saying, it's too soon, it's too raw after the shooting to talk about gun control. Virginia Beach? I may have misread something, or I haven't had time to check.
I was there with Deli.
Well?
2 people were killed in Virginia Beach shooting incidents.
Was that today? Was that recently? I thought it was 8.
It was 3 hours ago. Oh, wait.
Oh, I thought it was only 2 people killed? Oh, that's no big. That's just 2.
8 injured. I don't know.
Oh, 8 injured.
Oceanfront? Wait, what happened?
Yeah.
Original crime scene.
So if people start talking about gun control now, and they say, well, it's too soon after Virginia Beach. It's like, no, it's for Boulder.
I don't know what, I'm not sure what the...
But anywho, I mean, I'm not completely anti-gun. I don't believe in disarming everybody, even though I am a disarming kind of guy. So, still, what I always believe in above...
That was funny.
Thank you. What I believe in above everything is humor. Is not comedy's ability to heal, but comedy's ability to snap your neck and make you go, okay, I'm going to think about this a bit. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado or a don't, this is my sick mind for the Boulder King Soopers. Okay, I clicked on it. Why won't it play? Son of a gun.
Hold on.
Literally, let's click on this.
My sick, my sick, my sick, my sick, my sick. Well, talk about bad taste. My sick, my sick, my sick, my sick, my sick. You sick little monkey.
Yes, I'm a sick little monkey. And get ready with that shotgun, babe. We're going to need it. These are some jokes about the Boulder King Soopers. What did they say over the store loudspeaker? Clean up on aisle 5, 6, and 7. See, it's not going to work without this. It's not going to work without sound effects or something. Thank you. Hey, which is easier to pick up? 10 dead people or 10 spilled blueberries? Give up? The dead people. You can use a pitchfork. It's an old joke there. Why was the coroner annoyed at King Soopers? Well, he had to bring his own bags. Oh, boy. Why did victims who fell on their stomachs make the store look bad? Well, there wasn't enough turnover. Hey, what would be a better name for the store? Unsafeway. Hey, what would be an even better name for the store? Stop and Drop. What do you call it when a bullet hits a store customer? A markdown. Yeah, he's the mark. All right. Why would Ahmad Al-Alisa have made a good King Soopers employee? Well, he knows how to handle stock. Little gun joke there. And here we go. Gonna finish this in big fashion. 2 more. Why did they have trouble bringing coffins into King Soopers? Well, it's not a big box store. And finally, and not a moment too soon, as David Letterman would say, why is King Soopers a bad place to get the COVID vaccine? Well, they only had 10 shots. That's my sick mind. So as egregious as all that was, we have a bit actual, I mean, that was based on a crime, but we have a gentler segment for you now. This has to do with things that are in the newspaper but not in New York, not elsewhere in the country, not Charlotte, but in Greeley, Colorado, about a 45-minute drive from Boulder. The Greeley Tribune is the newspaper there. And this is where they do 2 columns every week. One is called Cop Log, of phone calls that come into the police department. It's public record, so they take the funniest ones and put them in the paper, alongside a column called 100 Years Ago, which are things that our friend Mike Peters, who works for and has worked for the Greeley Tribune for decades, these were in the paper back in 1921, 100 years ago. We mix them together, and we call the segment as a whole Greeley Crimes in Old Times. Fiddly-doodly-doo. Yes, Greeley Crimes and Old Times, ladies and gentlemen. We do it every week, and we mix them up. Are you ready for some criminality, my darling?
Yes.
Oh, boy. Here we go. Here we go. This will be... Well, I have one page of it. Where's the next one? Look at my notes. There we are. Some crime from Greeley, Colorado. And this is from like 2 or 3 weeks ago. A caller reported that a man in his late 20s to early 30s was walking around the Walmart on 47th Avenue with his penis out. Clean up on aisle 5. Yes, indeed, yes.
David, that's a normal day.
Actually, if he had more showing, they could recall it Ballmart. If you think about it, and you don't really want to think about it. Also, a woman called to report that she was being extorted for money in regard to some nude photos of herself. The caller was unable to send the photos to police due to the content. See,
Why would she need to send? Okay, she does not need to send the police the nude photos.
I'm sure the police were. Yes, you do.
We need to look
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. What are you? Are you 23 years old? And you're 36D and 5'9". Yeah. No, send us the book. It's evidence. It's very important that you send us this evidence. Anywho, a woman on 10th Street. Oh, you're gonna need the other noise for this one. Was bitten by a stray cat. So, of course, the fire department and the National Guard were put on standby. Meanwhile, 1:30 a.m. the next early morning, a caller on 16th Street lost his cell phone and wanted police officers to help him find it. The fire department and the National Guard were put on standby. People just think they can call police for,
You know what you do? You basically have someone call you, and when you hear it, then you pick it up.
If you have the ringer on. I never keep the ringer on. That's why I can never find my phone.
Yeah.
But I wonder, is there a way maybe, with technology the way it is?
Katie has that thing that's like a key where you put a little fob in it.
Yeah, like GPS or telephone. I think that's huge. Anyway, let's go do some old time stuff. These are things that happened. They were reported in the newspaper, but not a week or a month ago. This is 100 years ago. A large crowd attended and enjoyed a Saturday night play. I don't know why you're playing that. At the Kersey School, performed by the teachers. Proceeds will pay for that. So they did this play in order to pay for a movie. Proceeds will pay for a new motion picture machine for the school. Isn't that nice that they're getting a motion picture machine in 1921? Wow.
I hope our university gets one soon.
But speaking of theater, Tuesday night will be a special. Will be special. Sorry, after 3 hours, my mouth. Tuesday night will be special in downtown Greeley.
Soon, so.
Yeah,
no, maybe not. Maybe we'll go the other place.
Up to you.
Okay.
At the Sterling Theater, the Daughters of the American Revolution are presenting an all-star cast in music, song, and dance. The name of the play is Fee, Fee, Fee. I have no idea how the DAR is involved in this. A play or a musical, and the play is called Fee, Fee, Fee. I'm wondering if it was actually Fiorello and just the cast member stuttered. Anyway, a local scientist, this is also still 100 years ago, a local scientist recently said that from a physical standpoint, we are much inferior to prehistoric man. Still, most of us would rather be inferior than prehistoric. Oh, the wit. Oh, the wit of those columnists from 1921. Just,
Yeah, that's funny.
yeah. Let's move to modern times again. A caller inquired if police officers could come over to tell his brother to stop slamming doors or he would go to jail. Caller stated that officers needed to fix this for him and kick his brother out.
Wow.
Caller was unhappy and said he will call his mom, even though both the caller and his brother are full-grown adults. This is, by the way, new times. This just happened like a week ago.
Very disturbing.
Families, man. A man on 7th Avenue reported that his phone had been disconnected because his mom...
Yeah.
You want to talk about two brothers and happy family?
When they say man and mom, it should be child and mother,
Oh,
or
no.
adolescent. You know?
No. A man on 7th Avenue reported his phone was disconnected because his mom may be sending someone to kill him for his life insurance money. The caller said he saw people gathering around his house the other night.
You know what? That's
What?
a good reason to disconnect your phone.
It is, right? Good Lord.
At least that makes somewhat...
When I go to sleep at night, I always check my phone, because both Joyce and I have different insurances from different things. I'm like, she's, I don't know. I'm always checking to see if you're getting a blood test to bump up the coverage on me.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let's go elsewhere. On Greeley Crimes and Old Times, on Dave's Gone By, we always try and do one story at least that isn't from Greeley, Colorado. We have a story that's elsewhere in the universe, and this one happens to be much closer to home from Brooklyn, New York. This was reported in the New York Post. A Brooklyn-based film director is both mocking and attempting to profit on the craze for cryptocurrency. How is he doing this? Bitcoin and all that stuff.
I don't understand that.
He's doing this by selling a year's worth of something that was recorded in quarantine. What do you think it is?
People going to the bathroom? I don't know.
My friends, he is selling a year's worth of fart audio clips recorded while in quarantine. Yes. I'm not making this up. It was in the New York Post. It says Alex Ramirez Melis, age 36, quote, if people are selling digital art and gifts, why not sell farts? He has made an NFT, which is a non-fungible token, called 1 Calendar Year of Recorded Farts. At the beginning of the coronavirus lockdown, Ramirez Melis and his four friends started sharing recordings of their farts to a group chat on WhatsApp. Oh, I'm missing so much by not being on WhatsApp.
I don't get any of that. I'm on WhatsApp and nobody offered me fart music.
I don't know what these guys were eating, but after a year of this, they compiled the foofs into a 52-minute master collection audio file. Ramirez Melis says he can now almost identify members of the group by their farts alone. Top bid for this audio file is $183, though you can buy individual farts for about $85 each.
You can make that tape in one day. After your lunch,
Me?
you can
Oh,
make
yeah.
that tape and mix meat and milk, and you're fine.
So far, oddly enough, they've sold only one of these
to their mother.
to an anonymous buyer.
It's somebody's mother or family.
But here's Ramirez says, quote, if the value increases, they could have an extremely valuable fart on their hands. Seriously, though, this is still him saying it, this NFT, the non-fungible token thing, is absurd. It puts value on something inherently intangible. And these NFTs aren't even farts. They're just digital alphanumeric strings that represent ownership.
I don't even. You'll have to
Because
explain.
thing is, it's like buying an MP3 of farts for $183, which I think that stinks. Wrecked him. I nearly killed him. See, they should have turned it into some kind of like audio comedy show and called it Anus and Andy. No shit. Well, I'm just airing my grievances now. Hey! Let's get back to a couple more Greeley Crabs and Old Times for this Saturday, March 27th. Hey, how about a little more old... Well, hey, what happened to my old time? Where did I put it? Here it is. Another old-timey thing. Greeley's Philharmonic Orchestra will have a St. Patrick's Day concert this week. I mean, this was obviously going back a week ago. Melodies include The Blind Plowman, Had a Horse, and of course, The Barefoot Trail. Kind of interesting that the Greeley Philharmonic isn't playing Berlioz, is not doing Beethoven or Chopin. It's The Blind Plowman and Had a Horse. That's quite an orchestra right there, let me tell you. What else? What else can I tell you? Oh, by the way, the 6th grade school in Greeley, this is 100 years ago, is now selling pencils. The money raised will be used to buy a portrait of Abraham Lincoln. Why don't they just buy the pencils now, make the drawing of Abraham Lincoln?
Maybe they don't have talent.
I guess not. Anywho, one more old-timey thing. Probably the worst example of a paycheck is observed by, who do you think gets really, 100 years ago, really terrible pay?
Hobo.
Close enough.
Chicken?
Actually, this would be good for a hobo.
Chicken or hobo?
It's actually local juries. Jurors who are in trial 12 hours a day get paid $2. They're obliged, out of that money, to pay for 2 meals with the money, and if they're out-of-towners, they also have to pay for the room overnight.
Wow.
There are no plans even to raise that pay. So you want to talk about, there should be a union for jurors, and especially the rural jurors, as 30 Rock would say. W.J. Nunn was arrested this week after his dead horse was found illegally dumped in the city. However, he has an unbreakable alibi. He was in the city jail on other charges when the horse was dumped on the street.
That's good.
He was released from the dumping charge. Well, one charge is better than none. Get it? None? It's a little...
Oh my God.
Thank you very much. Let's do one more. Back 100 years ago, Mrs. J.A. Beatty, who lives on 13th Street, and they give, by the way, this is how old this is. Mrs. J.A. Beatty, who lives at 815
Oh my God.
13th Street. Like, they give her address in the...
That's not good.
Will be serving chicken dinners at her house on Sunday afternoon. 50 cents a plate.
Maybe that's why they did it, because she wants business.
And they give her phone. Make reservations by calling GR 1090.
Oh my God.
Call Greeley 1090. That's GR 1090. Don't call 109. That's Mrs. Henderson.
Don't
She
call
just
the
passed
neighbor.
away.
The neighbor won't like it.
And we know that Mr. Thomerson, who was GR3, he'll be attending. So, yeah, check that out. And by the way, we're speaking of guns and all that thing. When Frank Smith was arrested for threatening officers with a gun, he was jailed. And the kangaroo court of other prisoners cut his long hair and gave him a bath.
Ew, that's disgusting. I'm
Ah,
sorry. You shouldn't bathe. You shouldn't. No.
he shouldn't be so horribly filthy that the other prisoners in a jail. And in court, Smith assured the public that someone will pay dearly for his forced haircut and bath. Shows you how much things have changed in 100 years. Now the other prisoners would just be taking a bath in his mouth. But
That's
anywho.
horrible. I don't like forced baths from other prisoners.
No, certainly not. Anywho. Let's do one more recent crime and then call it a day on this segment, Greeley Crimes and Old Times. Oh yes, let's do this one. This was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. A caller reported that a neighbor on 7th Avenue had a baby cow chained to a pole in the backyard, and they wanted to know if that was legal. Shall we? Baby cow, moo 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 moo, baby cow, moo 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 moo, baby cow, moo 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 moo, baby cow, moo 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 moo, papa cow, moo 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 moo, papa cow, moo 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 moo, papa cow, moo 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 moo, papa. And this is being Greeley Crimes and Old Times for this Saturday morning, March 27th, 2021. You're watching Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz. We're almost a half hour overtime in the show, and we're not quite fit. We're getting there. Believe me, we're getting there. I'm getting hungry. I'm almost done, but we still have a bit more to do. We have, and I apologize for this, I'm doing this all day today, our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. So, yeah, you're going to definitely going to want to stick around for that. But before then, let's do some thank yous. Let's remind you how grateful we are to have a new friend of the Daverhood. His name is Rob Clement. He was with us, of course, talking about his restaurant, his pop-up restaurant, and his restaurant to be, which is called Meshugganah. Spell it just like this. If you spell it, you may still get the Google search right, but it's Mesh with two G's.
No, it's not Google search, Instagram or Facebook.
Oh, well, Instagram or Facebook are the best ways to find it. But there's also a website, Meshug, like Ugg boots, and Meshugganah. If you're watching and you're down south, you're in North Carolina, or driving distance from South Carolina or Kentucky, and you are jonesing for a real pastrami sandwich, tzimmis, knishes, kugel, corned beef sandwiches too, and things made in that old Jewish kosher style, Rob Clement and his restaurant Meshugganah can help you, can get you fed in a way that I'm just making my belly go, oh, me want now. So check him out on Instagram, check him out on Facebook, and at Meshugganah.com. And you can also read, there are a bunch of stories about him. This is how I found out about him and sent him to Rabbi Saul. Just Google Rob Clement with a C and put in deli, and you'll see all the stories that just exploded about him a couple of months ago when he was doing these pop-ups with that local brewery. So thank you so much to our new friend in the Daverhood, and best of luck to Rob Clement. Thank you also to our friend in the Daverhood, David Sheward. Remember to read him in the his blog, The David Desk, and also his reviews of theater stuff on theaterlife.com and culturalweekly.com. But we have other friends of the Daverhood who weren't on this particular episode of the show. They've been on the program in months and years past. We call those friends of the Daverhood, and we honor them by letting you know, well, what they've been up to. For example, so here we go. These are the things that our friends of the Daverhood are doing. For example, we have an Austin Pendleton alert. Our incredibly prolific friend of the Daverhood, Austin Pendleton, even during the pandemic, he's taking part in theater and virtual stuff. For example, now through, just a couple more days, through March 28th, they will be rerunning the virtual recording of Tennessee Williams' Night of the Iguana, which also stars Dylan McDermott and Felicia Rashad. You can get tickets for that at stellartickets.com. Stellartickets.com. Austin Pendleton co-starring in a virtual, a taped Zoom Night of the Iguana, now through March 28th. I want to let you know, congratulations to our recent friend of the Daverhood, Jessica Schur. We saw her do her one-person show, Betty Davis Ain't for Sissies, in a virtual way. She got to a theater and did it there and record. I mean, it wasn't for an audience in theater, but they let her have the room so she could do it as a show with a set and in full costume and everything. You can see Betty Davis Ain't for Sissies now. It's available on Broadway on demand if you want to watch it. Betty Davis Ain't for Sissies. Also letting you know that play we quite enjoyed watching, called Jericho, is playing through April 4th at newnormalrep.org, and it features Jill Eikenberry, our friend, as the mother. Letting you know that from March 29th through April 4th, you can see Robert Cuccioli and his wife Lila Robbins in Home Sweet Homeland. That is a virtual musical that they're doing from Amos Rep. So it's amosmusical.org, A-M-A-S, amosmusical.org. Our friend Leslie Jordan is putting out his very first album. It's called Company's Common, and it's a country gospel record on Platoon Records. Check it out. It's Leslie Jordan's album, Company's Common. Also, and that is dropping on April 2nd. Also dropping on April 2nd and running through the 4th is a recording. I think it's a new version. It's a Zoom version of the musical Amour, featuring our friend Adam Pascal, who was, of course, in Rent. Tickets for that are on stellartickets.com. I remember seeing Amour on Broadway and realizing, this will never run. But it was cute and sweet. I kind of enjoyed it. It wasn't a huge hit. I mean, it was a big flop. But it didn't get the love, somewhat, that it kind of deserved. Check it out for yourself. The musical Amour with Adam Pascal, running April 2nd through the 4th. Reminder that Evan Seplow is the editor of StageBuddy.com, which he founded. Dr. Demento at drdemento.com. Sounds of Broadway. If you want to hear 24/7 of Broadway theater show tune music, thanks to our friend Stuart Brown for putting that web radio thing together. You can see Ellie, King of Broadway, do his out there Facebook shows basically daily on Facebook, except Saturday mornings at Shabbos. And then Bob Cudmore, of course. Bob Cudmore doing podcasts of upstate New York history at bobcudmore.com. And let's see, who else can I tell you about? Oh, and want to remind you that our Chicago friend, Mary Sheng Barnage, even though it's been a pandemic, she's reviewing virtual theater. And you can read her stuff at totaltheater.com. totaltheater.com. And those, my friends, are the friends of the Daverhood. Sweetie, shraha. Little nod to Shuby Taylor there. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, stream. Let's see, Facebookio. Yeah, that covers the video stream of this program. And we're almost done with the program. It's a little bit after 12:30. I'm getting tired. You're getting tired, but not too tired to share our weekly Colorado Limerick of the Damned, because I do love Colorado, and there are so many places that you've never heard of in Colorado, nor should you have. But I've been looking at maps and lists of towns and cities and municipalities in Colorado with the objective of writing a poem about as many as I possibly can. They're all short, they're all 5-line limericks, and most of them are incredibly crude and cruel and horrible and disgusting. So if you've been out and turned away from this broadcast ever since we did the My Sick Mind segment, this is not the time for you to come back in. Stay out a little bit longer. This one's kind of PG-13R rated-ish. Just a warning as we go to lovely Maybell, Colorado. Oh, why don't I just play it? Unbelievable. Play it this way.
A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 will end with words that rhyme, And likewise, verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick. Rocky Mountain, Colorado, 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 Colorado.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, our dirty, dirty Colorado limericks of the damned. And as I said, as I promised or threatened, this week we go to Maybell, Colorado. It's an unincorporated community in far northwest Colorado. It's up by the Yampa River, if you happen to know that river. The coldest temperature ever in Colorado was reached in this town, in Maybell, Colorado, recorded in 1985. Hun, do you want to take a guess? I find this unbelievable. The coldest temperature in Colorado ever.
Minus 40 Fahrenheit.
That's a great guess. Not quite true. You're actually off by 20 degrees. Coldest temperature in Colorado reached in 1985 in Maybell, Colorado, minus 61 degrees Fahrenheit. That's like what? It's not, can't be right. It's not even. The village was founded in the 1880s and named after Maybell, the wife of a cattleman. Now it has a general store, a garage, an elementary school, and, of course, a meat packing plant. And by the way, in the elementary school, if you're trying to transfer kids from one building to another, it was a mess back then, too. Basically, it's a place you pass through on the way to Craig, Colorado. But no, we're not going to Craig. We're staying in Maybell for our Colorado limerick of the damned. A girl at the Starbucks in Maybell would climb up and pee on the table. They'd call her a slag and a dirty old hag. But I think she's merely unstable. Please send your comments and complaints to davesgoneby@aol.com. davesgoneby@aol.com. Yes, we still have the old AOL email address. That is the best way, really, to reach me. Although, you can also post messages or direct messages to me if you're a friend on Facebook. Just write on this Facebook page. I'll read them all week. Or, again, email's the best. davesgoneby@aol.com. Check our Twitter feed, Radio Dave 2, Radio Dave and the number 2 for our Twitter feed. We have an Instagram page, but I can't, using a Mac, I'm just not able to fucking do it.
You don't like technology.
Well, I don't want to do it on a phone. I don't like working on a phone. I got pudgy fingers. So,
I don't know where the violin one is.
but I'm trying, maybe that was, up until I reloaded Big Sur, I was actually able to do a workaround and get on Instagram using my computer. Now I can't. But we have an Instagram page. Look for it. Dave's Gone By. And what else? I forgot to mention. That's horrifying. I forgot to mention that Rabbi Saul Solomon has a website, shalomdammit.com, D-A-M-M-I-T, shalomdammit.com, for his hilarious, wonderful stage musical comedy called Shalom Damn It, which was performed off Broadway 10 years ago. I can't even believe it. It was back in 2011. ShalomDammit.com, plus his TV show that he did on Long Island Cable TV, and, of course, all his rabbinical reflections and his interviews. For all things Rabbi Saul, go to ShalomDammit.com. For all things Dave's Gone By, go to davesgoneby.com. And for all my writing, go to davelefkowitz.org. davelefkowitz.org. I think that wraps up pretty much everything. I do want to remind you or tell you that, let's see, can I mention any of the guests who are coming up? Except I can say with some level of certainty that at the end of April, we will be having Richie Goldklang of the semi-forgotten 1960s band, The Third Bardo. He will be, after 2 months delay and horrible dental surgery, he will be a guest in the Daverhood with Rabbi Saul. We've got to still wait a month for that, but Richie Goldklang is coming. And actually, this has been confirmed. Frank London, the Yiddish and klezmer musician Frank London is going to be joining us in mid to late April, so I'm very excited about that too. We're working on some other guests for you. We'll let you know what they are. Best way to find out is to check our Facebook page during the week and our regular homepage, davesgoneby.com, during the week as well. Well, is there anything we haven't, anything on that we're just like missing that we haven't touched on in the past 3.5 hours?
I don't think there's anything under the sun you haven't approached or covered. I think
Beverly Cleary's dead. She was 104.
Okay.
Didn't mention that. Beverly Cleary, man.
Oh,
I loved her books when I was growing up. As much as Dr. Seuss, Robert McCloskey and Homer and the Donuts, I loved those. Of course, before we knew he was a horrible anti-Semite, Roald Dahl books. But Beverly Cleary, man. Beezus and Ramona, Ribsy the dog, Ramona Quimby. I dug her more than Judy Blume. I tried reading some of the Judy Blume books that weren't really for me, but Beverly Cleary, she lived to 104. She just passed away, so a big sad farewell from the Daverhood on that. I don't know how to ease out of that into the end of the show. I wonder as Beezus grew up if they referred to him as Young Beezy. Wow, I got nothing on that. That wasn't even worth getting anything for. How I end on a joke, ladies and gentlemen? How I end on something amusing? I can just go with the Passover thing again. I want to wish you all a very, very happy and healthy and scrumptious Passover, because it's going to be great with food like this. This is not representative, by the way, of the kind of food that our guest Rob Clement makes. He makes pastrami sandwiches. He makes corned beef and brisket. Oh, brisket. Let's just take 10 seconds and dream of brisket, and then we'll end the show. Are you ready? And go. Which reminds me of the joke, by the way, a joke that I wrote. Why did the Moyle go to a deli when he was having trouble with his business?
Why?
Because he forgot his brisket. And gone by.
Days gone by, they're gone by. Days gone by, they're gone by. Days gone by, they're gone by.
Happy Passover, everybody. See you next one. Oh, shut up! It's iTunes. I hate you, big sir. And gone by.